Drew Barrymore has a big cock on the counter.
Oh.
You remember that whole decorating with chickens thing?
Oh, I've met your mother. Your mom used to have a house full of cocks.
Yes, she did.
And we all commented on it.
Oh,
Commented.
Commented.
All the time.
Cocks and doilies, and
Yep.
doilies. Hello, and welcome to Franchise Frights Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Mandy.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
You had a day off.
I did.
And you got to recover from another illness.
Yeah. So if I sound a little nasally, which I can hear over the headphones, I do.
Yeah.
That's why, because...
You sound a hell of a lot better than you did 2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago, you sounded like a Romero zombie.
Pretty much. There wasn't a lot of sound coming out.
No. Nolan and I started calling you Typhoid Mandy.
Yeah. I think that might stick.
Because you just keep getting sick.
I know.
Like, you should knock that off.
You know when it started? When I started eating an apple every day.
Yeah, an apple a day keeps the doctor in pay.
Apparently. It's not a way.
No. It's definitely not. This is the last episode before our contest drawing on December 3rd.
Yes.
On December 3rd, you can see us on Facebook Live. What time do you want to do that at? Like 5 p.m. Central?
Sure. It'll depend on if that's the day I work or not.
You'll be home by 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we say 5:30 Central Time?
5:30 sounds good.
5:30 Central Time, or let's see, what would that be on the East Coast? That'd be
Come on, Cameron. Come
6:30 on the East Coast, and 3:30 on the West Coast.
That's right.
And 4:30 Mountain. And if you're...
You got your bases covered there.
If you're in a different country, I'm sorry, I don't know what your time zones are.
No.
So our website is up.
It is.
It is running.
That's what I worked on while I was sick.
Yes, and I think you did a rather excellent job.
Well, thank you.
So you can find that website at www.franchisefrightspodcast.com, which is way better than what Squarespace gave us for the like default domain name. It was like Violet Seahorse.
No, it's Seahorse-Violet.
Yeah.
And that is still what our domain is, like, through them.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Yes, Seahorse Violet.
We're gonna, like, start making purple seahorses.
Well, there's a merch idea.
Yeah.
Holding a knife.
I'm a fucking genius.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see, what else? Oh, you could hear our kitty in the background.
Oh, Harvey.
Harvey, welcome to the podcast. Now she's not going to talk.
No.
So we're steaming through the holiday season now. Mm-hmm. And
I have a new section that I want to introduce.
Oh, lay it on me.
I haven't told you about it yet.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
The section is going to be called Things Mandy Needs to Clarify Because She Struggles with Mental Health, and if she doesn't clarify or correct herself, these thoughts will haunt her for the next 10 years.
This is why it takes 20 minutes to fall asleep at night.
Hi, millennial peers.
Yes, they'll get it.
Okay, you brought to my attention that when I say the word integral, it sounds like I say a C.
Yes.
I know it's a G. And when I say it, the G's in my throat, like where it should be. I've been practicing.
The G is in my throat. That has to be like a Lil' Kim rap lyric.
But so if I say integral, it's like in the back of my mouth. So I know I'm saying integral.
Ah. But it sounds like integral.
Yeah, so don't think I'm stupid, okay?
I'll try not to.
Okay. We've already proven I'm the smart one.
Yes. Where are they going to make all the food for the campers?
The other thing is during the Nun episode, I said that we're agnostic because it just, in the moment I did.
Yeah.
We're not.
No.
We're atheist. I don't know why I said agnostic.
Yeah, I don't think agnostic Satanism is a thing.
No. But it sounds better. I think it's easier to say, and maybe that's why it came out.
Well, an atheist has that, like, real guttural, like, Anglo-Saxon-y sound to it.
Well, it's the devil.
It's very, oof.
Yes. So those are the two things I needed to get off my chest.
All right.
I'm sure that'll now be a part of every episode.
I like it. I want you to sleep better at night.
Thank you.
Do you have any horror movie news for me?
I don't.
I have a lot.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Hit me.
Salem's Lot, the newest remake of Salem's Lot, is still dead in the water.
Oh.
It was supposed to be released in theaters, but they chose to release Evil Dead Rise instead. Evil Dead Rise was supposed to go directly to streaming, but it tested so well that they were like, let's drop that in the theater because it's testing better than Salem's Lot. And then Salem's Lot got pushed to the back burner, and now they're saying we might release it on Max in 2024 sometime.
Oh.
It's already made. They've already paid for it.
I don't know that I've ever seen Salem's Lot. I know nothing about it.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
It's an enjoyable novel, and the original movie, I bet for the time, was super terrifying.
Yeah.
But, I mean, by today's standards, it was pretty campy.
Yeah.
And it has one of those Stephen King endings.
I was going to say, most Stephen King things are kind of like that. Like, they made them in the 80s, and they were like super scary at the time, but now they're just...
You watch them and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Terrifier 3 will be holiday themed and is releasing the week before Halloween in 2024.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like Christmas themed?
Yep. So you get to see Art the Clown wearing a Santa hat.
He's going to be in a Santa just hat, not suit?
All I've seen is the hat so far. I don't know if he's going to go full suit. I hope he does.
Okay.
Screen 7 is greenlit, but there's no news on any returning cast.
Ew.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Uh-huh. They're trying to turn it into Saw.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we need a new Scream movie every year now.
Well, and it's like, if you make a new movie every year, you're just putting out shit.
Yeah. Look at Halloween 5.
Like, I think your fans would rather wait 2-3 years and have
a good movie.
Star Wars.
Oh, come on. Solo was great. Yeah, that's all I have for the horror movie news.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the kiddos what movie we watched?
Scream.
And what do you have to say about Scream?
I'll start off. Scream was released in 1996.
Correct.
It's rated R.
Very R.
Very R.
Hard R.
Yeah. You want me to go down the movie facts and figures?
Yeah, fire away.
All right. So it was directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, produced by Kathy Conrad and Carrie Woods, cinematography by Mark Irwin, edited by Patrick Lussier.
Lussier or Lussier? Watch, it's probably Lussier.
Lussier. Music by Marco Beltrami, starring David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, and Drew Barrymore. The production company was Woods Entertainment, and it was distributed by Dimension Films. Release date was December 20th, 1996, which is a very odd release date.
I thought so too, but I was very happy to go see that. I want to say it was like the first day of our winter break that year.
Really? Its runtime is our longest so far, I think, at 111 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
Its budget was between $14 and $15 million, and its box office was $173 million.
That's pretty good a return on investment.
Yeah.
Those numbers, adjusted for inflation, would be $27 million budget today and a $339 million box office.
Is that good? I don't pay any attention to like box office or...
Usually for a horror movie, unless like you get one of the crazy ones like It, that brought in almost $1 billion, didn't it?
I have no idea.
Most of the time for a horror flick, you can assume in today's dollars, like between 150 and 200 if it's super successful.
Yeah. Because, like, to me, like, money, like, once you hit over $1 million, it just loses value and I pay no attention to things.
Wouldn't it be nice if that was the way, like, the world worked? Once you hit $1 million, no more money.
Exactly.
Like, congratulations, you won the capitalism.
You win.
Yeah.
Yay.
Now the rest of the money goes to people who need it.
No.
Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. This movie got an 81% from the critics.
Mm-hmm.
And an 80% audience score. IMDb has it rated at 7.4 out of 10. That feels criminally low to me.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomatoes critics' consensus says horror icon Wes Craven's subversive deconstruction of the genre is sly, witty, and surprisingly effective as a slasher film itself, even if it's a little too cheeky for some.
Oh. It is a little cheeky.
It is very cheeky.
Yeah.
Especially like the entire character of Randy.
Yeah.
Randy's very cheeky.
Okay. It's not a word I would have used to describe the movie, but
No.
but it works.
Yeah. I think it's apropos.
Yeah.
Do you have any critics' words?
Oh, I bet I do. Peter Stack from the San Francisco Gate said, Scream is exceptionally violent, making no bones about a point-blank evisceration, or a highly inventive scene where a girl gets tangled in an automatic garage door. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a quote from the same person.
Do you?
The film plays lively games with the macabre. It's the sort of creepy hemoglobin shocker that peaked in the 1980s when horror movies were all the rage, before they turned into endless series of laborious half-baked sequels.
Someone has a thesaurus.
A thesaurus?
Thesaurus.
Is that a dinosaur? Let's see. Do you have any other critics?
Janet Maslin from the New York Times quoted, Mr. Craven's characters here are so movie-wise that they sit around drinking beer and eating popcorn while they watch Jamie Lee Curtis flee a crazed killer on the television screen. If this seems cynical, it's meant to. After all, thrilled-seeking adolescents are the prime audience for Mr. Craven's brand of titillation.
Titillation.
But I noted that, I know that this is very much Kevin Williamson's writing more than it is Craven's directing.
I know, and that was, I only wrote down that quote from Peter Stack because the rest of it was, Wes Craven crafted a smart, sexy, edgy. I'm like, no.
No, this was all Kevin Williamson.
Yeah.
Like, watch Dawson's Creek. He's a cinephile.
Wes Craven directed the movie beautifully, and I think he got the most out of the actors.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad they put his name behind it.
Yes.
Because
it gave it instant cred.
Yes. But it's all Kevin Williamson.
Yeah. And like, look at Scream 3. When Kevin Williamson wrote the story, but not the script.
Yeah.
You could tell.
It falls flat.
I just wrote a little note here that says, many critics reviewed the movie positively, praising its comedic take and meta approach, while others really dragged it for its overt violence. Because it was very violent.
Yeah. It is.
It's funny because I don't think about it.
No, I don't think of it about it as being a violent movie. But when I was like watching it and taking notes, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like, wow, in the first like 12 minutes of the movie, we see two teens completely eviscerated.
Yeah, like they completely gutted that girl and hung her by a tree.
Yeah.
Like,
after gutting her boyfriend.
Yes. It's rough.
And the knife sounds in this movie.
Yeah.
There's so much slashy, squelchy.
There's a lot of squishing.
So what were your initial impressions of Scream?
I just really think this is a perfect movie. It's just good. I like the nostalgia of the 90s. Everyone had a crush on somebody in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody did. Like, you were a certain, like I know you were a Nev boy.
What can I say? I like girls with big brown eyes and brown hair.
I don't have brown hair anymore.
You used to. Now you have gray hair.
Yeah. The fact that they killed Drew Barrymore off in, like, the first 12 minutes, like...
Yes.
What?
When she was front and center on the one sheet?
Yes. The ending was insane for the time. And I put that it also might help that I was 13 when this came out. So it's like, it's tied to my adolescence.
Yes. This was the slumber party movie.
Yeah. That's all I had to say.
My turn?
No.
I said I was eager for this movie to release. The TV spots were all over the primetime teen shows and all over MTV. It was like every commercial break, there was a 30-second spot for Scream.
Yeah, I still don't have cable at this point.
Man, your life sucked. I was actually in line on Friday night's opening at the Orpheum Theater in Marshalltown, Iowa.
Were you?
It was a totally packed house, and as soon as it was over, I was like, I want to see this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even at 14 years old, I knew that, like, this was a big deal. Like, this was the rebirth of the horror genre. And, like, specifically the slasher genre.
Yeah.
Because we'd started to go back to kind of the, like, thriller creeper movies.
Yeah.
Because the slashers had just been done to death. And I want to say it was just the year before The Curse of Michael Myers came out. And I remember reading in, like, Fangoria and my early trips onto the interwebs that, like, everybody was like, yeah, this movie shows that horror is dead. Well, and Scream came along and did innovative things. They had different killings. It wasn't just the same old. Well, and the characters knew the rules.
Yes.
They weren't clueless teenagers, like, just running around fucking.
Yeah.
I also said I saw it at least 3 times in the theater. When it hit VHS, I rented it several times. But this is one thing I remember so clearly. I could not find a copy to buy in Marshalltown.
Really?
Every time I'd go to buy it, it was sold out.
Oh.
And so finally, I ended up getting it for Christmas the year after it came out. And my mom said she walked by the electronics section and it was just sitting there. And she was like, that's that movie Cam's wanted. And I watched it constantly. I'd say by the time I'd had it for 2 weeks, I had the entire script memorized.
Really?
Before watching it critically, I gave the movie a 10 out of 10, just because it was smart and funny and gory and quick and suspenseful and mysterious. Well directed. The cast all does a great job. The script was amazing. And I wouldn't change a thing.
So we both hate it.
Absolutely. It's a horrible movie.
Yeah. So do you want to start with a rundown?
Oh, no. There's something that needs to happen first.
That was flat.
Yeah. Hopefully the beer's not.
Yeah. Take a drink. See what happens.
No, it's delicious.
Good. I'm so happy for you.
I am too. It's Friday night. I got a beer. I'm going to get really sleepy.
Yeah. We have full bellies.
All right. So plot rundown. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
You go ahead and start.
All right. So we get a simple title screen, but there's screaming in the background and it kind of sets your teeth on edge.
It just hits a nerve.
Yeah. We open with a phone ringing and Drew Barrymore, looking absolutely adorable,
Yes.
answers the phone. The voice on the other end asks who she is. And she's like, who are you trying to reach? And right away, you're kind of like, this is a weird call.
Yeah.
And the guy's voice is kind of ominous. It's a little husky. She tells him he has the wrong number and she hangs up. And right here, I had to note, I love the camera work. Like when she answers the phone and the camera tilts at a weird angle.
There's so many camera tilts in this movie.
And you're like, uh-oh, what are you trying to tell me here, Wes? So the phone rings again. The caller called right back and apologizes for calling the wrong number. And she asks why he called back. And he said, to apologize. And she says, okay, you've apologized. Bye now. And he says, wait, I want to talk to you for a second.
No, I don't want to talk to you, creepy stranger.
So Drew B fires back with, they've got 900 numbers for that, and hangs up again. So now we get an outside shot of the house, and it looks very secluded, and there's windows everywhere.
Yeah. I wouldn't,
No, you wouldn't walk through that house.
no.
You'd be like, I stay upstairs in my bedroom.
Yes. I don't do windows at night.
No. So she goes to the kitchen and starts making some Jiffy Pop, and then every elder millennial's brain went, Jiffy Pop! The man calls back again and asks why she doesn't want to talk to him. And she asks who it is, and he replies very eerily with, "You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine." And right then, I just would have unplugged the phone from the wall.
I don't know.
So she shakes up the Jiffy Pop, and the caller goes, "What's that noise?" And she says, "Popcorn." And he says he only eats popcorn at the movies, but she's getting ready to watch a scary movie.
She's getting ready to watch a video.
Yes, just some scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks what her favorite is as she pulls a knife from the butcher block and plays with the handle of it.
Well, you know, when you're thinking about Halloween, you want a butcher knife.
Yeah, and I noted here that Drew Barrymore has a big cock on the counter.
Oh.
You remember that whole decorating with chickens thing?
Oh, I've met your mother. Your mom used to have a house full of cocks.
Yes, she did.
And we all commented on it.
Oh,
Commented.
yes. Commented.
All the time.
Cocks and doilies, cocks
Yep.
and doilies. So she tells the caller that her favorite movie is Halloween. You know, the one with the guy with the white mask who stalks the babysitters. And she asks what his favorite is, and he tells her to guess. She guesses Nightmare on Elm Street, and he asks if that's the one where the guy has knives for fingers. I liked that one. It was scary. Hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Hang up the phone, Drew. He's creepy. Oh, I need to stop saying creepy all the time.
I, today, put up a list of synonyms for the word creepy.
Okay, it is spine-chilling. Thank you, Mandy Thesaurus. So after he says that he liked Nightmare because it was scary, she drops the first joke of the movie and says, "Well, the first one was, but the rest sucked." And Wes Craven had to get a kick out of that when he saw it in the script. So she locks an outside glass door, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
As she walks through the dining room, and the caller asks if she has a boyfriend, and she does this cute little, like, "Why? Do you want to ask me out on a date?"
Yeah.
And when she says ask, she kind of, like, dips down a little bit.
She's flirting.
Yeah. And she's flirting physically while on the phone, which I like.
Because that's what girls do.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Well, when people used to talk on the phone anyway.
Yeah, talking on the phone's bad. He seems to have her, like, totally disarmed now. Mm-hmm. Even
She's
though,
feeling comfortable. She's chatting.
yeah. He asks her about her status again, and she says she doesn't have a boyfriend, and the caller says, "You never told me your name." And she says, "Why do you want to know my name?" And he hits her with, "Because I want to know who I'm looking at."
And then you get that.
Yeah. And she looks worried.
I would be worried.
When I saw this in the theater, I remember that feeling of my heart falling into my anus.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. No. And she asks him to repeat it, and he corrects himself to, "I want to know who I'm talking to." Mm-hmm. And she's fully uncomfy now. She turns on the patio lights to look around outside. There's a nice pool, a very nice patio. She's privileged.
They've got some money.
Yeah. So she gets freaked out and gets ready to hang up, and she locks the door and hangs up just as the caller says, "Don't hang up on me." Mm-hmm. And my skin still crawls when I hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's not a nice "don't hang up on me."
No.
It's not even like a request. It's a demand.
Yes. So now the Jiffy Pop is burning, and she goes into the kitchen to take care of it, and he calls back, "Why are you still answering the phone, Drew Barrymore?"
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we wouldn't have a movie if she didn't, but she picks up to hear, "I told you not to hang up on me." And she asks what he wants, and he says he just wants to talk. So she tells him to dial someone else and hangs up. She goes back to the kitchen to check on the popcorn. The phone rings again. Stop answering the phone.
Yeah. Or just like turn it on and like throw it to the side.
Yeah.
Like,
leave it off the hook. So this time she's going to stand up for herself.
Yeah.
She answers the phone with, "Listen, asshole." And he fires back with, "No, you listen to me, you little bitch. You hang up on me again and I'll gut you like a fish. Understand?"
oh.
And we're not 5 minutes into the movie yet. Already this movie is blood-curdling. I had to check the list again.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna laugh every time he looks at the list.
Because I wanted to say creepy so badly.
We need to expand our vocabularies.
She asks if this is a joke, and he tells her, it's more of a game, really. Then he asks, can you handle that, Blondie? And she goes into full freak out mode now. She locks 2 more doors. How many doors do you need? He asks, she locks 2 more doors, looks out the front door window, and he asks, can you see me? So he can see her looking for him. He knows she's blonde.
Yeah. He has eyes on her.
Yeah. And she says she's going to call the police, but he tells her they'd never make it in time. We're in the middle of nowhere. She asks what he wants, and he says to see what your insides look like. Done. Done. I would lay on the floor.
I don't know. It's just like, and I think at the time this scared me even more because like I didn't live out in the middle of nowhere, but I lived in a small town that was 15 minutes from
anything.
Yeah. So if something like this were to happen, there's nobody to come save me.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So she starts crying and hangs up the phone. The doorbell rings and she asks who's there. She threatens to call the police again, and just as she grabs the phone, it rings and scares her. She answers it again, and the caller tells her, you never ask who's there. Don't you watch scary movies? It's a death wish. You might as well just come out here to investigate a strange noise or something. The taunting with the tropes of the slasher movie is genius.
Yeah. Because it's like they're stating the rules without stating the rules.
Yeah, and everybody knows.
Don't go look outside.
Yeah.
Don't ask who's there.
But nobody in the movies ever acknowledges it. So this was just...
It's like, oh, they know what not to do.
Like, it's self-aware? So she tells the caller he should leave or her boyfriend will be here soon. And he's big and he plays football and he'll kick the shit out of you. And the caller taunts her, saying, oh, I'm so scared. I'm shaking in my boots. And then he says, his name wouldn't be Steve, would it?
And then you get another one of those
Yeah.
noises.
And she asks how he knows his name, and the caller tells her to turn on the patio lights again. So we see a guy in a Letterman's jacket. He's tied to a chair with some duct tape over his mouth. His nose is bleeding. It looks like he's not having a very good night.
Nope.
So she goes to unlock the door to try to go outside to him. No. Hang up, call the police.
I could see in the moment that that's your reaction.
I'm sorry, babe. You're out there on your own. I can't save you if I'm dead.
I'd run out the door, knock you over, so I'd be like, oh, look, he's an easy target.
He's already tied up and he's laying down. So the caller tells her not to come outside. She's fully breaking down now, and she just keeps saying, where are you? Where are you? The caller says he wants to play a game, and if she doesn't want to play, he's going to kill her boyfriend right now. She asks what kind of game, and he instructs her to turn off the patio lights, and the boyfriend screams at her. And we think at this point her name is because that's all we hear. The caller says all she has to do is answer a question. If she gets it right, her boyfriend lives. And he gives her a warm-up question.
I like this part because she's hiding behind the TV.
Yes.
And starting to unplug like all the lights so that she can see outside.
Yeah.
But I like that she's just hidden in that little corner back there.
With the giant console TV.
Yes, that too. But, like, that's what a child would do.
Yes.
You know, you hide in the corner. It's also smart because she's got 2 walls backed up. But I just think that's, like, your instinctual thing to, like, I'm going to go hide in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it shows, too, like, this is not an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a high school student.
Yeah.
She is still a child.
Yeah.
He asks who the killer is in Halloween. And it would have been hilarious if she was like, Jason! Because then he would have just busted through the window and killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I wrote, I love that she's trying to hide behind the TV and unplugs the lamp.
Aww.
So she answered her warm-up question correctly by answering Michael Myers. She's not stoked about having to answer another question, and he asks her who the killer is in Friday the 13th. She jumps up and screams, Jason, Jason, Jason!
She's so excited.
She is. And he tells her that's wrong, and he mansplains to her why that's wrong. And she says, "You tricked me."
It's the saddest line ever.
And she looks so hurt.
She looks defeated.
And he says, "Lucky for you, there's a bonus round, but poor Steve, I'm afraid he's out." So we cut back to outside to Steve, who starts yelling, and we hear a knife slash and a stab noise. And then Steve's head rolls back, and she turns the patio lights on to reveal that Steve has lost his innards.
His innards are on the outwards.
Yeah, and they're dribbling down the front of his legs.
Yeah.
Excellent visual effect.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing that in the theater for the first time, I was like, you can show
they
that?
Can do that?
And then she goes back to her hiding spot behind the TV, and the super creepy phone man says, "Hey, we're not finished yet." It just makes your skin crawl every time. He tells her he has a final question. "What door am I at? If you answer correctly, you live." She grabs a letter opener from off the top of the TV, and I like that because there was some random mail just sitting on top of the TV cabinet. The letter opener was there, like the house looks lived in.
That's a natural thing.
Yeah, it's not a set. And she sobs, "Don't do this. I can't. I won't." The caller says, "Your call." And just after he says it, a patio chair comes flying through the glass patio windows next to her. I just burped. And she bolts back into the kitchen. The kitchen's filled with smoke from the popcorn.
Ugh, you know that has to smell so bad.
And, I know her parents are about to lose their daughter, but you've also lost your kitchen.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the kitchen's filled with smoke. She grabs the knife that she was fiddling with earlier from the butcher block and backs her way up to a window. Mm-hmm. So the killer darts from the living room to the entryway, and he's wearing all black and has a shrouded robe thing with hangy down arm dangles. I don't know what you'd call them. I call them hangy down arm dangles.
Like how like on his sleeve where it's cut, or like his like Batwing kind of thing.
Like his Batwing kind of thing. But they're not all connected.
Yeah.
They're like streamers. There's hangy down arm dangles.
Okay.
And I love the sting sound of him running by.
Mm-hmm.
The score just gets nuts here in a second.
Well, and the stingers throughout this movie aren't all the same.
No.
And so it's just like keeps you on edge all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the score is just a whole bunch of like dissonant notes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really off-putting.
It is.
But it's not big and overblown. Now, Casey decides, creeps outside. And how many fucking doors does this house have?
It has a lot of doors.
So there's the front door, the back patio, the doors off the dining room, and doors off the kitchen.
Our house has 2 doors.
Yes, because we're normal people. So she peers back inside, and the killer is just waiting for her to see him, it seems. And we get our first glimpse of their white mask. So the killer takes off back out of view, and after he spots her spotting him.
Mm-hmm.
She's holding the phone right now. You're outside. Call for help.
Yeah.
Hang up. 911. Take off in one direction and just run.
Yeah, even if it's going to take them a minute to get there, like...
Run towards the nearest main road.
Yes.
Now we can see a car coming down the road, and it appears she lives next to a vineyard.
I had never noticed that before until you told me you noticed it when you were taking notes.
I'd never noticed it either.
I'd always paid attention.
How many times have we seen this?
I'd always paid attention to her parents' car driving down the road and not to like...
Because it's a sweet Thunderbird.
But I guess I didn't pay attention to like what the front of their yard looked like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a vineyard.
Yeah.
So the rich blondie girl dating the football player being stalked by a psycho killer. She's rich.
Mm-hmm.
You bet she's popular.
Mm-hmm.
We've been here before. So now the score picks up a little bit. There are kind of elements of Psycho mixed in with like John Williams.
Yeah.
And Drew Barrymore looks like she's becoming a little more composed. She looks back inside and sees the killer dart back towards the kitchen. The car is pulling into her driveway now. Instead of running for the car, she decides to look in the window again, which is a bad choice. because Ghostface is there. And he spins around just in time to give the camera like a full lens of the spooky mask. And he punches through the window and grabs her wrist before headbutting out the rest of the glass, that's a badass move. He headbutted out a window.
Yeah.
So she's screaming a lot, and she has a great scream.
When you think about it, though, headbutting the window is probably the best choice because he had the rubber mask on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, chances are you aren't going to get stabbed with that.
Plus, it's a power move.
That, too.
It looks awesome. So she bashes the killer in the face with the phone and takes off running. And I like that the killer grunts.
Mm-hmm.
The killer makes noises.
Yeah.
Instead of just like Michael, where it
just
was
like getting back up and like
yeah,
trotting around.
So we know it's a human in there.
Mm-hmm.
She runs by the back patio and pauses for just a moment when she gets to her boyfriend's corpse.
Yeah.
She goes around the back of the house and the car is almost to her. Ghostface jumps through a window and tackles the shit out of her in the yard.
Yeah.
She takes off running again, but the killer catches her from behind, puts his hand over her mouth, and plunges the knife into her chest.
I liked that this was like in slow-mo.
Yes. And the killer's very methodical about it. Like, he's not just stabbing willy-nilly.
No.
You can see him look over her shoulder like, okay, am I aiming right?
Yeah. Because he wanted to hit her in the heart.
Yeah. Which feels personal.
It doesn't feel, it is.
So he tosses her to the ground and she's moaning and whimpering. And you're like, oh, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And there's blood gushing between her fingers that she puts over her cut.
Mm-hmm.
The stab's just beneath her collarbone. She knocks the knife out of the killer's hand and he immediately goes for a two-handed choke. And it looks like he's really pressing in.
He's doing his job.
So she knees him right in his cash and prizes and tries to yell for her parents coming up the steps, but her voice is wrecked from being strangled and she can't yell.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw this for the first time, I wanted to scream in the middle of the theater, "Throw the phone!"
Yeah, I still want to scream that every time I watch this movie.
You're holding the phone.
I know, but...
Throw the cordless phone at your mom.
But also, like I said earlier, in the moment, I don't know... You're thinking, oh my god, I'm fucking dying.
Yeah.
Who's trying to kill me? There's this mask guy.
I just got stabbed in the heart.
Yeah.
And I like that this whole time, her parents are just talking about some plants in the front yard. And they both have their heads turned away from her.
Yeah.
It's like if they wouldn't have been looking at those damn plants.
Yeah, if they would have just looked to the left instead of the right.
So the parents get inside the house and see the busted up patio doors. And outside, Drew Barrymore gets knocked down from behind by the killer. And she's out of the fight now.
Mm-hmm.
She grabs at the killer's mask. He raises his buck knife high, still with blood on it. And he plunges it down as we cut back inside to the parents. The furniture is also awful. Rich people have no taste.
There's a lot of beige.
And flower print.
And flower print, yes.
So the parents are frantically looking around the house for Casey, and they find the smoke alarm going off and the Jiffy Pop flaming away. The mom screams, "Where is she?" And the dad says to call the police. The mom picks up the phone to dial, and we cut back to the knife being plunged down again. Mom can hear all of this happening through the phone, because Casey still has the receiver from the cordless phone. And the mom says, "Oh my god, Casey? Baby?" And the camera tilts wildly again.
Poor traumatized mom.
Yes. And it's only going to get worse for her. So now we see outside, and Casey's being dragged across the yard with the phone still in her hand, and the last thing we hear her croak out is, "Mom!"
Oh.
And then we see that she's very stabbed up. There's a lot of blood going on.
She's not surviving.
No. So the mom passes the phone to the dad, saying that she can hear her. And just as he puts the phone to his ear, we hear a man's voice shout, "Hey!" And the line goes dead. Dad instructs the mom to get in the car and drive down the street to the Mackenzies, nod to Halloween. And the mom says, "No, not my daughter." And she walks outside and lets out a great couple of screams. They're ear-piercing, they're soul-shattering.
Well, and the fact that she, like, clutches herself as she's screaming, like, it makes it so much more real.
And I bet that actress couldn't do very many takes of that scream.
No.
Because she gave it.
Yeah.
The dad comes out and looks to where the wife is screaming, and now we get his POV as the camera showed us shows us a bloodied Casey hanging from the tree in the front yard. And her guts are hanging out. Just like her boyfriend's.
And I liked this shot, too, because it's, like, super fast.
Yes.
Like,
And it goes up to her face instead of focusing on the gore.
Yeah.
Like, look, that was a person.
Well, and more like, look, we killed the star.
Yes. And that's the opening scene.
Yeah.
We just talked about that for 20 minutes.
Oh, no.
And it was a 12-minute scene. Guys, I'm so sorry. This is going to be a 3.5-hour episode.
We might have to, like, cut it into 2 parts, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see. I don't know. But, yeah, we just talked longer than it was.
Yeah.
Oops. So there's a big thunderclap. I liked that they did a thunderclap.
Yes.
Like, it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the room with a very pretty young brunette.
Very pretty.
She has the best bangs ever.
And the best eyes, and the best freckles, and the best teeth.
Teeth, really?
Yeah.
She's a little bucktooth.
I know. She's perfectly imperfect.
Oh, okay. But she does have great bangs. Her hair's tied back with a scrunchie. She's playing on her computer. And then she hears some noises coming from her open window. She goes to peek her head out, and a young man grabs her. She screams, but he tells her it's okay. It's just him, Billy.
And she says, Billy?
Billy? So we know he's Billy.
And he is a perfect mix of Gavin Rossdale and Johnny Depp.
Oh.
Like, he has Gavin Rossdale's hair and forehead, and then the rest of the face is just like young Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe him.
I'm so good.
You are.
I'm good at looking at attractive men.
Yeah. He's concerned that she sleeps in a nightgown, and I am too, for that matter.
Yeah, it's not flattering.
She tells him that her father will kill him if he finds out he's there, and then suddenly her door opens, but it's caught on the door to her closet, which is like genius parent protection.
Yes. He can't get in.
I know. She's so smart.
Yeah, there's no way to get in that room now.
Nope. So Dad's checking up on her because he thought he heard a scream. She lets him in, and the boyfriend is now hidden. He tells her he's going to be gone all weekend at the expo, and he'll be staying at
The Hilton.
the
At the airport.
Yeah, at the airport. I was like, is it a Hilton?
For some reason, I wanted to say Ramada, and I'm like, no, it's not the Ramada. It's the Hilton
It's
at
the
the
Hilton
airport.
at the airport. He makes sure that, she's going to be okay for the weekend and knows where he's going to be, and they kind of have a nice little father-daughter moment.
And the whole time her face is saying, okay, I'm nervous about something, Dad. Can you please leave?
Get the fuck out of here.
This is my room.
So we cut over to her bed, and there's a little stuffed tiger being held up, and he says, close call. She asks Billy what he's doing there, and he tells her that he was watching The Exorcist, and it reminded him of her.
Which, that's a line.
That's a great pickup line.
Billy's sexually frustrated, and I think it's only his own fault.
It's his own fault. Don't tell your girlfriend The Exorcist reminds you of her.
Like, what scene particularly,
Yeah.
Billy?
So he explains that 2 years ago they started dating, and they had a nice solid R rating on their way to an NC-17. But now things have changed, and they're sort of edited for TV. So he basically came to get some.
Just like Glenn in Nightmare on Elm Street. He's popping in through her window.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to nag your nightgown, but then I'm going to shoot my shot.
Yeah. Yeah. So they kind of start messing around, and no, that's not where they start messing around, is it?
No, not yet.
Sorry.
He does admit he's horny, and he wants to do some on top of the clothes stuff.
Yes.
And she's like, okay.
And that's where he says, but I wouldn't dare break your underwear rule.
Yes.
And then they start making out.
And
then
they just immediately go down onto the bed.
there's no making out. He kisses her for 2 seconds and is like, hand up the nightgown.
Yes. And while a really shitty cover of Don't Fear the Reaper plays in the background.
It's not good.
Oh, and I noted here, too, maybe this is just a Wes Craven thing, because they're holding hands up by her face.
Oh, maybe he's doing that to, like, create intimacy?
Like Johnny Depp and Heather Langenkamp did outside Tina's house.
Uh-huh. That's odd. So then he tries to gaslight her because she stops him, and he says, see what you do to me? I'm pretty sure he's just talking about his boner.
Yes. Well, and I like that when she pushes him off, she says, "Okay, time's up, stud bucket." Now, I'm sorry. If you called me stud bucket while cutting me off, I don't think we'd be married right now. Just you calling me stud bucket, I would have been like, I need to rethink some things. Can you leave?
I need to take care of some things is more like it.
Well, yeah, he's got a severe case of blue balls. But also, she called him stud bucket.
Yeah, stud bucket's not the greatest. But she iterates that if her dad was to find him there, he would kill him. So maybe it's time for you to go home, Billy.
And he doesn't look thrilled.
No.
About any of it.
No. So he tells her he's not trying to rush her with all the sex stuff. And then,
He's only half serious.
yeah. Like, no, you're serious. You want to have sex with her.
See, both brains were serious, but now the blood has left one of them to go to the other one, and so now he's only half serious.
And then I'll let you describe what happens next, because I'm sure you have lots of thoughts.
Okay, so now they kiss, and he goes out the window, and she asks if he would settle for a PG-13 relationship. And he goes, "What's that?" And then she just opens up the nightgown, and he looks like he saw God. Like, he looks like he was not a believer in the hereafter, and then he heard the chorus of angels singing.
So do you think she hadn't shown him her tits yet? Like,
I don't know.
he was trying to go for underwear stuff, and he hadn't seen her boobs?
I don't know. Maybe it just been a long time.
Yeah, that's true. That's a possibility.
Plus, he was all boned up
Yeah.
and got shot down.
He's lucky he didn't just fall off the roof.
Yeah. But, yeah, he's a lucky dude. And then he goes, "You're just a tease."
Which is true.
Yeah. So we know what he did in the car on the way home. We cut to the next morning, and Sydney's walking onto the school campus, and the campus is absolutely crawling with cops and press. We see Courtney Cox wearing an awful neon greenish yellow suit. Like, she looks like a highlighter.
It's bad.
I just keep referring to her as Nev.
That's fine.
Yeah. Nev doesn't look stoked to see Courtney, and somebody comes up and startles Nev. She immediately turns and says Tatum's name for us, which is something she does
Throughout the movie.
Yeah, she's like,
Billy!
"You are Tatum!"
Tatum!
Nev is so good at introducing us to the new characters. So Tatum tells Sydney that Casey and Steve were splatter movie killed. And Sydney says, "Casey sits next to me in English," and Tatum hits her with, "Not anymore."
Oh, it's so sassy.
Yeah. And I have to throw it out to Tatum. I love Tatum.
Yeah.
Like, she's so spunky and bubbly.
I used to not like Tatum when I was in my teens, but now I love her.
And she's exactly what the movie needs.
Yeah.
Like, she's not stupid. She's not preppy. She's not jockey.
Well, and I feel like Rose McGowan is the only person that could have played her.
Yes. Tatum reveals that Casey's parents found her hanging from a tree, her insides on the outside.
Ooh.
Tatum also says that they don't know who killed the couple, and they're questioning everyone at school. She says it's the worst crime the cops have seen in years. Even worse than... And then she trails off.
She just cuts herself short.
And she says, "Well, it's bad."
It's bad.
And she just walks away from Sydney, and Sydney kind of glares after Tatum moodily. Nev's looking great with the hair up and the blue top, by the way.
Yes.
Just gorgeous. Gorgeous Canadian woman.
Looking very innocent.
Yes.
She's wearing baby blue.
Mm-hmm. And the hair tied back also tells you she's innocent, but she's going to kick some ass.
Oh, yeah.
She's ready to get down to work.
She can fight.
Yeah. So in class, Sydney's looking at the empty desk next to her, and her teacher tells her that it's time for Sydney to go talk to the cops. The sheriff asks the principal who's next to talk to, and Deputy Dewey and the principal, who is...
Henry Winkler!
And I love him.
I do too. He's the best.
I don't so much love him in this movie.
Really?
I love that he's in this movie, but we'll get into it later.
Okay.
They both say Sydney Prescott at the same time, and then the principal says she was daughter of, and he trails off.
Well, she kind of comes in at that time too. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about her right now.
Do you recognize the sheriff?
No.
He was Nancy's dad's lieutenant in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the one that, maybe I should go get the lieutenant. Like,
Oh.
yeah, he was his, like, buddy.
Oh.
So,
Good for him.
yeah, it's kind of fun that...
Yeah. There's a lot, like, with the baby blue and, like, him looking like Johnny Depp, there's a lot of...
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and, like, there's just Wes Craven stamped all over it.
Yes.
And they seem to be treating Sydney with kid gloves, and she seems to know Dewey, but he wants her to respect his authority.
Yeah.
She calls him Dewey, and he says, "That's Deputy Riley today, Sid."
He's not Dewey.
So now we cut to the quad for lunch. The friend group has grown a little bit, and they're talking about the interrogations, and the difference in the questions between the males and the females is brought up. This is also the first time I remember hearing honest feminism brought up in a movie.
Yeah.
Like in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Most of the time, feminism in a horror movie was like, oh, look at the stupid feminist. I can't wait till she gets killed.
Yeah.
And Tatum says, they didn't ask me if I like to hunt. And is it Stu that jumps in with, that's because there's no way a girl could have killed her.
I think so, yes.
And she brings up Basic Instinct, and Randy jumps in with, that was a nice pick, not quite the same thing. And Stu jumps back in with, yeah, they were completely hollowed out. And the fact is, it takes a man to do something like that.
Yeah. Tatum should have just slapped him right there.
Yeah. But I did like how she hit him back. She was like, or a man's mentality.
Yeah.
We can see that Sydney doesn't look very comfortable with this whole conversation. And she kind of just offhandedly remarks, how do you gut someone? And Stu jumps in right away with, it's real easy. You take a knife and you slit him from groin to sternum. And Billy looks at him and says, hey, it's called tact, you fuck rag.
I love that he calls him a fuck rag.
Right after he preaches to him about tact. When you say fuck rag, tact has packed its bags and is on the airplane.
Yeah. They start discussing that Stu used to date Casey before she dumped him for Steve. And then Tatum says, oh, but I thought you dumped me for her. And he's like, I did.
Randy's full of shit.
And then I just put, aw, teenage love.
Stu has an alibi, though.
Yeah. He was with Tatum all night. And then Randy says he was working at the video store. And Tatum said, I thought they fired your sorry ass.
And he pops a grape in his mouth and goes, twice.
And I don't know why, but I love that he pops a grape in his mouth right there.
Yes. I love everything about Randy.
His shoes in this scene.
Are they the red ones?
Green. They're
green.
like
okay,
bright
yes.
fucking green.
Oh yeah, the red ones are at the end.
I guess I didn't pay it. Oh yeah, those are more like a sneaker, right?
Yeah.
No,
these are like green clogs almost.
No, they're like almost like Doc Marten shoes.
Oh, they are? I thought they were almost like a clog.
No, I think they're more like a dress shoe almost.
Like creepers?
Kind of like creepers, yeah.
I'm not supposed to say creep.
Oh, but you can say creepers because that's what they're called.
Okay.
But they're like, just like Crayola green.
Yes. He's a snappy dresser.
He is.
Oh, and that was another thing I loved about this scene, is they are all dressed in the quintessential 90s dress, and all of their outfits are their characters.
Yeah.
Randy's dressed very loud and kind of geeky.
Lots of patterns.
Stu's dressed very like, I'm upper middle class, and I'm trying to kind of punch above my weight here.
I'm in all beige, but I'm wearing that nice little necklace that makes me look a little edgy.
Yes. Tatum is dressed as Tatum. She's artsy, but not in a dorky way.
Oh. And then Sid's still wearing the baby blue and...
Yeah. And Billy, plain white t-shirt.
Yeah.
Blank slate. Nothing there. You don't know what he's about.
Yeah.
He's about having some awesome fucking hair is what he's about.
Are you jealous?
Kind of. No, because if I had hair, I'd just buzz it.
Yeah. So Billy's like being really quiet and serious during this whole convo. He doesn't really like have a whole lot to say. Because I just have that Stu says he didn't kill anybody, and Billy replies, "No one said you did."
Yeah, and he glares really menacingly at him. He's like, "Nobody said you did."
Yeah,
and you're like,
"This is there's something going on here."
It's like there's some sort of unspoken thing between them.
Mm-hmm. And then Randy does a bit about them finding the liver in the mailbox next to the spleen and the pancreas.
And Sydney's had enough.
Yeah.
She gets up and she's like, no more murder talk. I go bye-bye.
I don't want to do this.
And then Billy hits the shit out of Stu.
He does.
Like, he hits him so hard.
But then Stu says that Tatum's getting mad and that you better leave her alone.
Liver. It's a joke.
And then I just put, he's so fucking cute.
He is.
Like, he was my guy. I love Matthew Lillard.
I do too.
He's the best. Yeah, and then Sid gets up and walks away, and that's kind of the end of the scene.
Yeah. Which I wanted that scene to be longer. I wanted to hang out with my friends some more.
I know. I was going to say, that scene is so Friends-esque.
Yes. They're even sitting on a fountain.
Exactly. Like,
do 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 do.
So then we cut to Sydney getting off the bus.
Another fucking rich kid.
She's got more money than Casey.
Oh yeah.
The views when she's walking through.
Her house is all settled into the mountains and it got the white picket fence.
Yeah. And it's like she's got like 6 decks.
Yes, it's a deck, and then you go up some stairs and there's a whole other deck.
Yeah.
And then there's another deck.
And then it's all just decks.
There's like 12 tables.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
For 2 people.
Yeah.
2 people live there.
2 people. I don't know what kind of expo her dad's going to, but I want to find out so I can get in that biz.
And he just looks like a contractor.
Yes, that's what I thought too. I was like, was your mom like a political giant or something?
I'm not sure. But
I made a note about the score here.
Yes.
I like that the score is very soft and you get like a woman singing, just kind of oohing like ethereally behind it.
It's kind of off-putting.
Yeah. But it's comforting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's all arranged, you're like, wait, are they trying to lull me into a sense of comfort so something really bad can happen?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really liked that.
So Tatum calls and just kind of is checking up on her. And Sydney says, are you sure that it's okay that I stay with you? Because I wouldn't want to be left home alone at this point.
No, there's a killer on the loose.
Yeah, I probably want to go stay at my friend's house for a while. She's telling Tatum that all the cameras and reporters, it's kind of like deja vu all over again. And Tatum kind of tries to comfort her and promises that she'll pick her up by 7 o'clock.
Now we go back inside the house and she's kind of packing up her essentials. And we get our first of very many horror movie trope fake scares that don't pay off.
Yeah, when she gets in the closet and then opens the door.
Yeah, and then
closes the door.
As soon as she starts closing the door, a music stinger comes on and goes, "Oh."
And you think like, "Oh my god, the killer's going to be there."
And then you're like, "Okay, so that was the fake scare.
Yeah.
The real scare is going to come." And she walks by that phone on the wall. And you think somebody's going to jump out, and then you just get like a weird phone ringing sound effect. I like it.
She turns on the TV, and everything on TV is about the murders. So she stops on Courtney Cox's
Gale Weathers
station. And Courtney Cox starts talking about how it's only been a year since Maureen Prescott was found raped and murdered not far from the town square. So now we know it was Sid's mom that was killed.
Yes.
So Sydney lays down on the couch with her shoes on.
Yes. It's horrible.
That was me patting the dog.
He needs lots of love.
When she lays down, the clock says it's 5:45. She falls asleep. Next thing we see, the clock says it's 8:15, and it's completely dark outside. And then her phone rings.
Uh-oh.
But it's just Tatum, and she's saying that practice ran late, and she's going to be right there. But first, she's going to stop and rent a movie. So
she was thinking Tom Cruise in All the Right Moves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I heard if you pause it just right, you can see his penis.
I skipped that part.
You skip the penis part in All the Right Moves?
No, because they'd mentioned Tom Cruise.
Oh. I love Tom Cruise.
I know.
Okay, but is that really a thing that, like, high school girls would be like, do you want to see some dong?
Yeah.
Really?
At that In 1996?
You'd be like, you want to look at some dong?
Okay, think about guys had Playboy to look at. Like your dad had Playboys.
Yeah.
So you were able to look at a Playboy and see. What reference point do girls have?
Playgirl?
You think our moms had Playgirls hiding under their beds?
I don't know. I don't know what your mom was into.
No. So I could see where it's like, oh yeah, I can see a dick.
Like a real penis?
Let's look. It's going to be all pixelated and weird, but like, let's look at Tom Cruise's dick.
Oh, you just admitted you wanted to see Tom Cruise's penis. I got it out of you.
Nope, not his.
But like, dongs are so ugly.
They are. So the phone rings again.
Oh,
Oh, you have more to say?
Tatum delivers a great line. Sydney's like, it's after 7. Tatum says, it's okay. Casey and Steve didn't bite it till way after 10.
She's fun.
And she's uniquely her.
Yeah. But the phone rings again. Can I go on?
Yeah.
Okay. This time it's not Tatum.
No.
It's the killer. But she's convinced that it's Randy. They go back and forth, and he starts asking her what her favorite scary movie is. And she says she doesn't like scary movies because they're all the same thing. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
Little more feminism injected.
Mm-hmm. So then the killer asks if she's alone. And she starts calling him Randy again because she's still convinced it's Randy. And then the killer says, I'm not Randy. It's not Randy.
And the way he says it, hey, maybe that's because I'm not Randy.
Uh-huh. And then we get a sting again.
Yes. And her face drops.
Yeah. So she asks, okay, well, who is it? And he says the more important question is, where am I? She says, okay, so where are you? She's like ballsy.
Yeah. Especially the move she pulls here in a minute.
Yeah. So he says he's out on her front porch, and she calls his bluff and goes out to the porch to look for him. She doesn't see anything and asks if the killer can see her. He replies yes. So she sticks a finger up her nose and asks him what she's doing. So when she does this, I have always thought she sounded like somebody else, and I could never figure it out.
What am I doing?
Sandra Bullock.
Oh my God.
When she sticks her finger up her nose, she is Sandra Bullock.
That's so crazy.
Isn't it weird? Like, I must have not been looking and taking my notes, and I was like, holy fuck, that's Sandra Bullock's voice.
That is so nuts. Like, that was one of those, like glass breaking
Yes.
in my head sounds from How I Met Your Mother. And I just want to say that even with a finger in her nose, she's still gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like she's got it, like, buried in there. She says, okay, Randy, nice try. And then bye. And then what does the killer say?
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother.
Ooh.
Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
Now I'm scared.
Yeah.
So she goes back into the house and locks the front door.
And she hits him with, fuck you, you cretin.
Oh, yeah.
Who uses cretin?
Cretin.
Like, she's smart. She's a smart person.
You think so?
She has a thesaurus.
She doesn't say fuck rag?
She doesn't say fuck rag, and she doesn't say creepy for everything.
She locks the front door, and then Ghostface jumps out of the closet. They wrestle around on the ground, and he slams her head into the floor. She has a concussion.
Yeah. Real hard head slam.
Yeah. He's just getting ready to stab her, and she, like, puts her legs, or her feet, like, on his abdomen, kind of.
Yeah,
and,
and she, like, flips him.
She, like, kicks him off of her.
One thing I wanted to point out, though, before he raises the knife, he, like, puts kind of like the tip of the blade under her chin and then drags it down between her boobs.
Yeah.
And he tips his head, and the way that you can't emote with that mask on.
Yes.
But his body is saying, like,
should I do something else before I stab?
Uh-huh. And it's really, really uncomfy.
Mm-hmm. But at this point, she can't get the front door unlocked. So what does she do?
She has to run up the stairs.
Oh, no.
Instead of going out the front door.
Bad choice. So she runs to her room and locks the door, and then she uses the closet door to brace it like she did before with her dad. Good thinking, Sydney.
She's smart. I told you.
So then we see the killer. He's at the door opening, and he's got his arm stuck through it and is slashing all about.
It's slashing very wildly.
Yes.
And I gotta say, I don't like the sound effect of the knife whizzing through the air here. It's like, whew, whew,
yeah.
whew.
Sydney tries her phone, but it doesn't work. So she goes to her ultra high-tech, futuristic computer to call 911 via computer. And I put here that would work with a modem that uses phone lines. But Cameron told me that she could have a data line.
Yes. We had a data line at our house when I was grown up because my dad had a bulletin board system. And so if we didn't have a data line, then our phone would have constantly been busy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
So, and they've got money, so she probably has a data line.
If you have 12 decks, you have a data line.
Yeah. So while she's occupied trying to type to 911, we can see that the killer has disappeared. And then Billy pops up in her window.
And he pops up real fast.
Real fast and scary. He asks her if everything's all right, that he heard screaming. And Sid tells him that the killer was there. So he embraces her and they're kind of hugging. He tells her that the killer is gone while looking super creepy.
Yeah, he has a really distant, he's like dissociated face.
Yeah. As they're doing this, a cellular telephone drops out of his pocket onto the floor. Sid looks up at him horrified and runs away from him. Billy doesn't understand why she's so upset. She runs down the stairs, opens the front door very quickly, and we see the killer's mask. But it's just Dewey holding it.
She screams, and then Dewey screams louder and longer than she does.
She scared him.
And I like that she yelps, and he full-on screams.
Yeah.
Dewey says, "Hey, I found this." And it was a really nice break in the tension.
Yeah.
And then now we can just watch Billy get slammed onto the hood of a cop car. Mm-hmm. They're handcuffing him. Dewey's reading him his rights. They put Billy in the squad car, and he is yelling to Sydney that he's innocent. He's like, "Sydney, I didn't do it." Mm-hmm. So Dewey and the sheriff check on Sydney.
The patrol car takes off with its lights and sirens.
Well, yeah, they got the killer, they think.
They just want to parade him around town.
Did you see Halloween Ends?
Okay.
It's parade time. Dewey and the sheriff check on Sydney as Tatum pulls up. Dewey tries to exert some authority, but Tatum calls him a doofus and tells him that Sydney's staying with them tonight because her dad is out of town.
Yeah.
And Dewey sheepishly asks if their mom knows. And I think that's when Tatum hits him with, "Yes, doofus."
Uh-huh.
Dewey shows the costume to the sheriff and goes, "Creepy, huh?"
He's handing the mask off to the sheriff.
Yeah, and it's not in a bag.
It's not in an evidence bag.
No.
Neither of them were wearing gloves.
Nope.
They're just fondling the bejesus out of it.
This is small town, rich person California. So Gail and her cameraman pull up, and Tatum just shrugs her off when Gail tries to ask her some questions. Mm-hmm. Gail's a total asshole to her cameraman and just calls him fat.
Well, she's upset that they missed the action, so she yells at him. Well, she doesn't really yell at him. She's like, "Jesus, get the camera."
"My name isn't Jesus." And then she tells him, after they miss the shot, she's like, "Kenny, when I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now."
Which was a fun way to see Courtney Cox.
Yes. She brought the Monica Geller energy, but that's
bitchiness.
Not Monica.
Yeah. So then we cut to Sydney at the police station talking to Dewey. And they're trying to get a hold of her dad, but he's not at the Hilton where he said he was staying.
Not at the Hilton at the airport.
Uh-oh. Billy's inside the sheriff's office being interrogated while staring at Sydney. The sheriff's asking him what he's doing with a cellular telephone.
"Everybody's got one, Sheriff."
Billy's dad, Hank,
Hank,
suggests that they look at the phone records, and the sheriff says, "Oh, thanks, we're already on top of that."
And Billy's dad's haircut looks like he walked into his stylist and was like, I want you to make it look like I'm wearing a really cheap wig,
Yeah, pretty much.
but real hair.
So the sheriff asked Billy what he was doing at Sydney's house tonight, and Billy says he just wanted to see her. Sheriff asks about the previous night. Dad didn't know about the previous night.
No.
Nope.
And he looks at him like, dude, might have told me about that before we got in here.
Yeah. So Billy says he was just bored and went for a drive.
Yeah. Whichever.
Whichever. I think he says ride,
I think so.
but it should be drive.
I don't know.
Okay. The sheriff asks him if he happened to drive by Casey Becker's house, and Billy says no, and he didn't kill anybody. The sheriff says they have to hold him until they get the phone records.
So now we cut back to Billy being hauled to a cell, and he's yelling at Sydney. He's like, Sydney, look at me! Look at me!
Sid won't look at him.
No. Tatum comes in to comfort Sydney. Dewey tells the sheriff that the costume is sold at every 5 and dime in the state, and there's no way to track the purchase. They won't know about the phone records until the morning. Tatum's impatient and insults Dewey's authority, and he snaps a little and says, what did Mama tell you? When I wear this badge, you treat me like a man of the law. And Tatum fires back immediately with, I'm sorry, Deputy Dewey boy, but we're ready to go now.
I love their relationship.
And the rest of the cops in the bullpen in the office kind of snicker.
Yeah.
Dewey is completely emasculated.
As he should be.
And they're walking out the door, and he whispers to Tatum, he's my superior. And she kills him again with, the janitor's your superior.
I feel so bad for Dewey.
And then the sheriff pulls the classic I'm in charge cop line, and he kind of, all right, everybody, back to work.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get people going instead of staring at the drama between Dewey and his sister.
Now we're outside the cop shop, and Gail and her cameraman are walking around the side of the building, just as Dewey leads Tatum and Sydney outside to avoid the press.
Well, Gail's gonna get the top story.
Well, yeah, she works for Top Story.
She's gonna get it.
Sydney starts talking to Gail, and you can tell they have a complicated past. Mm-hmm. Sydney asks about Gail's book, and Gail says, it'll be out next year. I'll send you a copy. And then Sydney just full-on punches her in the face.
She does.
And I like that the cameraman here, he gets a little bit of redemption from Sydney punching Gail in the face, and he goes, great shot.
I also liked that when Gail fell down, she knocked into the cameraman, because I was like, oh, she's probably not complaining about that extra 50 pounds now.
Yeah.
It was a nice soft landing pad.
But I like that he says great shot, and she goes, what? And he goes, the camera.
I got it all on camera?
So now we're in Tatum's room, which Mandy does not like, has 2 twin beds.
I don't understand it.
Tatum's popular. She has friends over a lot.
Okay, so get a trundle bed, Tatum.
It's just a lot easier to have 2 beds.
Okay.
Tatum is super stoked about Sydney punching.
I feel like Sid's nighttime attire here is not something I would wear at one of my friends' house. She's just wearing a long t-shirt. That era, wearing a pair of boxers under it would have been cute.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she's just wearing a long t-shirt and some socks.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll let it.
If I was at home, that's one thing. But not hanging out with my friend Tatum and her older brother that...
Yeah. Yeah, I think the older brother thing would make me be like, I should put some sweatpants or something on. So, Tatum is so stoked about Sydney punching Gail, and she calls her super bitch. Dewey comes in with an ice pack for Sydney's punching hand, and Tatum asks Sydney if she really thinks Billy is guilty. And Sydney goes, he was there, Tatum. And she's sad. Tatum's mom knocks on the door and says that Sydney has a phone call. And she says, is it my dad? And the mom goes, I don't think so.
No, it's not.
She goes and picks up the phone in the hallway, and it's the killer.
Oh, no.
And he says, you fingered the wrong guy. Again. What's he mean by again?
I don't know.
She asks what he means by that, and he says, don't worry, you'll find out soon enough. Sydney yells, everybody's worried. Dewey comes running out of his room in his undershirt with his gun drawn, and he's still wearing his cop hat.
I put that Dewey comes running in with his hands and gun.
So Sydney runs off, but Dewey still picks up the phone and goes, "Hello?"
And he's so disappointed that the killer's not still on the phone.
Yes.
He's sad. He thought he was going to save the day.
Yes, he was going to talk to the killer and it was all going to be over.
So we cut to the next morning, and we're in Tatum's kitchen. They have the news on their super fancy kitchen TV.
Rich.
And the news is talking about how...
The news on the kitchen TV, another Nightmare on Elm Street nod.
Man.
Except this mom is not pouring breakfast liquor.
No.
Because it's the mom from Gremlins.
Yeah. So the TV's talking about how Sydney was attacked and how she's the daughter of Maureen Prescott. They said that she was killed and raped by Cotton Weary. Sydney's the one that testified against him, and he's waiting an appeal on a death sentence.
So now Dewey comes up, and he has a donut on a plate. He is wearing a cop uniform, and he's eating a donut off a plate.
Oh. He tells Sid that they had to let Billy go because he didn't call her last night, but they're cross-referencing anybody that made phone calls to both her and Casey Becker.
They're checking every cell account in the county.
Cellular. You have to leave that in.
So our dog just chased our cat. They're still not used to each other yet.
The dog's okay with the cat. The cat's not okay with the dog.
And she runs, and he loves to chase.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was some drama.
But he's also not supposed to be running because he has a bad elbow.
Yeah, so...
These are the exciting adventures of the Sawtells.
Oh, we're in our 40s. This is excitement for us.
Dewey drives the girls to school, and he announces their arrival with the siren.
Yes. Why not?
That's what you do. There's news vans and cops everywhere. The girls get out of the car, and Dewey assures Sid that she'll be safe at school while she is simultaneously bombarded by news reporters asking how it felt to be almost brutally butchered.
Do you know who the lady who asked her that question is?
No.
Linda Blair from The Exorcist.
Oh, I guess I didn't really pay attention.
Yep.
Had I looked at her, I would have known her, but...
She was also the one earlier in the movie when they first walk onto the campus.
This is something about the occult?
Yep.
That's nice.
Nice little nod.
Yeah. Sid walks over to Gail's van. She has a black eye and is applying makeup to cover it. When she sees Sydney approaching, she yells at her to stop. Sid tells her that she's just there to talk, not fight. And Gail immediately asks for the camera, but Sid tells her it's off record. They argue about the book some more. Gail tells her that she had to write it because it was the hottest case last year and someone was going to write a book about it. Sydney says it's full of lies and bullshit theories. Gail doesn't understand why she's upset. She got what she wanted. Cotton's in jail. We find out that during the trial, Gail was throwing Sid under the bus a lot. She says that she thinks Sid falsely ID'd Cotton Weary. And Gail says that she's talked to Cotton many times and that his story has never changed. He admits to having sex with her mother, but that's all. Sid says that he's lying, that her mother wouldn't do that, and she saw Cotton leaving with blood all over his coat that night. Gail says you saw someone leave wearing the coat, but it wasn't necessarily Cotton.
It was whoever took his coat framing him.
Mm-hmm. So then Gail senses some uncertainty in Sid and speculates that the murders are related. Gail gets very excited.
Yes. And it's not for altruistic means.
No.
She just thinks this could do great for her book sales if she's able to crack the case and prove Cotton is innocent.
She says, an innocent man on death row? A killer still on the loose?
Tell me I'm dreaming here.
She tells Kenny that she could save a man's life and increase book sales. But she needs proof.
Yes. So she has her mission. So inside the school, Sydney's looking for Billy, and Stu says that she broke his heart by branding him the Candy Man. Then a kid runs down the hall wearing a ghost face costume and shrieking. Stu thinks it's hilarious. And Tatum whacks him on the head with a blow pop or like a Tootsie Roll pop. And it sounds like it hurts.
I'm sure it did.
She hits him really hard, like 4 times with it.
Well, and you know how hard those are.
Yeah. So Sydney rushes off and literally bumps into Billy.
Yeah, she runs right into him.
Yeah. Billy says the cops think that he scared the killer away when he showed up. And Sydney's like, yeah, I know it wasn't you, because the killer called me at Tatum's. And he says, yeah, how could I have done that? I was in jail, remember? And he holds his hand up and he still has the ink from the fingerprinting. Like, yeah, look what you did to me.
Yeah. He's kind of a dick.
My poor little fingers.
Oh, they're black.
He plays the victim and whines that he isn't getting laid since her mom was murdered. And he tells her that he thinks it's time she just got over that. It's been a year.
Gosh, just get over your mom being brutally murdered.
Billy kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And I like that Sydney looks at him and she goes, is your brain leaking?
Because that's just such not an appropriate reaction.
So Billy tries to switch tacks here and he's like, you know what? When my mom left my dad, I just got over it. Moms leave sometimes. He thinks that's equal.
They're not equal.
No.
His mom left town. Hers is in a coffin.
Yes. So, no. I think Sydney wins the trauma game here. At the end of the scene, Billy seems pretty remorseful, and he curses his own stupidity.
Yeah.
And now we cut to the principal's office, where Henry Winkler is getting aggressive with 2 students who were caught wearing Ghostface costumes. He, does not appear to like teenagers at all.
Okay, do you think it's weird that they're both still wearing the mask when the scene starts?
Yeah, that is kind of odd.
I think it's just so he could rip it off of them.
Yeah. But he says something about, like, your entire thieving, whoring, half-wit generation disgusts me.
Hembry says they make him sick. Your entire havoc-inducing, thieving, goring generation disgusts me.
And then he holds the scissors up to one of the kids' throats after telling him that they're expelled.
Yes.
And they're like, that's not fair.
It's just a joke.
And he's like, no, you're right. Fairness would be rip your insides out, hang you from a tree, and expose you for the gutless, desensitized little shits that you are.
I think at this point they were trying to
make him a suspect.
Play the everyone's a suspect.
Well, and when I first saw this in the theater, I was like, oh, that's the killer right
the
there.
Fonz is killing people.
Yeah, because who would you not suspect to be the killer?
Yeah.
The Fonz.
The Fonz.
He's Henry Winkler. He's America's granddad. So, yeah, he seems rather unstable. Like I said, he expels both the kids. And now we cut back to Sydney. She's just had her little experience with Billy. She's in the bathroom trying to compose herself, and 2 asshole girls come in and start talking about her. Oh, no, they're in the stalls
They're already in it.
Yes, they're in the stalls, and they're talking about Sydney, not knowing that she's out there. And the cheerleader of the 2 theorizes that Sydney killed Casey and Steve due to trauma from her mom being murdered. I also put here that not a very believable high school cheerleader, since she looks like she's 37.
Yeah, they both look rather old.
The other girl looks like she placed 12th out of 12 in a Parker Posey lookalike contest, and she has a weird butt.
And she's Karen. She's a Karen.
Oh, she's a Karen.
Yeah, she's
I was
Karen.
like, you just know her name's Karen?
No, she's Karen.
So the asshole girls keep talking, and they kind of reveal that Sydney's mom was a known sleep-around. And they walk out with a drastically overstated hot girl walk.
You're not even going to mention Bubble Butt Boyfriend?
Oh, no, I didn't put down Bubble Butt Boyfriend Billy. Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers.
What's Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers? Is that the name of a show? Baby, is that it?
From the Righteous Gemstones.
I know, but is that the name of his Family Feud show?
Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers.
Okay.
So Sydney composes herself, and she hears someone whisper her name. She looks under the stall doors, but sees no one is in there. The whispered voice really sounded like Billy to me. Instead of leaving, Sydney decides to continue digging around in her bag, and again asks if someone's there. She checks under the stalls again after she hears another whisper. She stands up, and then we see under one stall, booted feet hit the floor, and the costume drapes over some denim-clad legs.
I put that it was the ghost face dress.
With the hanging down arm dangles.
Yeah.
The stall door opens, and the costume dickhead charges at her. She ducks under the sinks, kind of, and he runs into the wall.
She kind of slides.
Yeah. She slides into a garbage can.
Yeah.
And then she escapes, and the ghost face doesn't really try to go after her.
No.
He's like, I can't go out in the hallway.
Yeah.
So we cut to the front of the school where Gail is meeting up with Dewey, and she flatters him and flirts with him. She asks his age, and he says he's 25, and she's like, oh, demographics say that I'm most popular with males between 11 and 24. Guess I just missed you. So they
Is it 11?
I think so. I think it was 11 to 24,
I feel
wasn't it?
like 11's really young. I think it's 18 to 24.
Oh, I thought she said 11.
Oh.
Anyway.
You should know this.
They have a funny conversation, and then Henry Winkler comes over the PA and tells the students that classes are canceled and there's a 9 p.m. curfew. So Gail digs a little bit of info out of Dewey, and he professes his lust for her.
Mm-hmm.
And as he walks away from her, he looks at her and goes, I'm 25.
No, he says, I gotta say, you look prettier in person.
Oh, yeah. And she says, so you do watch the show. And he goes, I'm 25. I was 24 for a whole year. I love
Dewey's very
Dewey.
Kelso.
Yes. Yeah, he's very Michael Kelso.
Yeah.
I wish he was more Bob Kelso from Scrubs.
So we see Tatum and Sid starting to leave the school. Sid's telling her about the bathroom incident, and Tatum replies, you're not to be alone. You pee, I pee. Stu approaches them.
That's a ride or die.
Stu approaches them, and he's super stoked about school being out.
He speaks some pig Latin at him.
He picks Tatum up. He says he's going to throw a party at his place tonight. Sid's pretty unsure about it, but Stu says that he's buff and he'll protect her.
He's not buff.
Tatum clearly wants to go, so Sid finally kind of agrees, and Stu tells them that they are in charge of food.
Did you notice anything about Tatum's shirt?
It has a number on it.
It's a little belly shirt
Yeah.
with a number 10 on it, like Glenn is wearing in Nightmare on Elm Street.
This is just blowing my mind right now.
So many Easter eggs.
So then we cut back to Principal Himbry in his office, and he's trying the mask on.
And going, arg.
Someone knocks on his door, so he rips the mask off and then goes to look, and there's no one behind the door. He turns around and scares himself with the mask in the mirror.
Just like Dewey did to Sydney.
Mm-hmm. And then someone knocks again, so he goes out into the main office and is looking around for them. And then he checks out into the hall where the custodian is mopping the floors. His name is Fred, and he's wearing a fedora and a red and green striped shirt.
And I like it because when he opens the door, he goes, damn little shits. And the custodian looks up at him and he goes, what'd you call me?
Yeah.
And he goes, not you, Fred.
It's just cute.
Do you know who Fred is?
Wes Craven, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Himbry goes back into his office. He checks his closet, and there's nothing in there besides his Fonzie jacket. Did you know that was in there?
I didn't notice that.
His Fonzie jackets. When he goes to part him, it's the one on, I think it's the left camera.
Oh, I just noticed his suit jackets
Yeah.
and he has a couple extra shirts
Yes,
in
there's
there.
definitely suit jackets, but if you look, his Fonzie jacket's in there.
That's excellent.
So he's kind of feeling paranoid, but he goes over to close his office door, and the killer's behind it.
And he is using his hanging down arm dangles to hide his white mask.
Yeah. So then the killer pretty much just attacks him and stabs him a whole bunch of times.
I noted here, this kill has never made sense to me.
Yeah.
The scene where he threatens the two students with the scissors didn't make much sense to me. And neither did this scene. But I found out that they put both of those in because the Weinsteins have a rule for when they make slasher movies. Mm-hmm. And Weinstein's scandal noted. They have a kill allotment. you can't go more than X amount of minutes without a kill in a slasher movie or people lose interest.
Oh.
And so they told Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, there needs to be another kill between this kill and this kill.
Yeah.
So find a place to squeeze it in.
Yeah, see, I was okay with the scene with the students because, like I said, I think they were trying to, in your mind, think that maybe it's him.
Yeah.
But yeah, once he was killed, I was always like, what? Why?
Yeah, and they do end up using this later as a bit of a plot device to get the rest of the kids out of the house.
Yeah.
So we only have the main group.
That is true.
So they ended up using it to their advantage.
Well, and I guess it also works too because I was just going to say, like, what was their motivation for killing him?
Mm-hmm.
There is no motivation for killing him.
Yes.
Now we're at Tatum's house.
We're at Tatum's house.
Sid and Tatum are sitting on the front porch discussing Cotton and Maureen and the murder. And Tatum's trying to take a soft approach with Sid and tells Sid that maybe her mom was just an unhappy woman. Her dad's gone a lot. He's constantly traveling for business.
There's been talk about other men.
Maybe she's just lonely. And then Tatum also says that Cotton might not have been her only affair, that there's rumors of more.
And Sydney's not happy.
No. So Sid asks Tatum if she believes the rumors, and she replies, well, you can only hear that Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you have to start believing it. That if she was wrong, the killer's still out there. They decide to leave and go get the groceries.
And Tatum hits her with, because Sydney says, if I'm wrong, then the killer's still out there. And Tatum looks at her and goes, stop it. You're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick.
Yes. But then we see Ghostface.
He's just
hiding in the bushes.
Just hanging out in the trees.
Yeah, I thought that
in
was
his costume.
Really dumb, but it was kind of fun at the same time.
So now we cut to the video store where we see Randy is just as much of a goof at his job as he is at school. He's riding the return cart around, almost slamming into customers. The video store has had a run in the mass murder section. I like that they have a mass murder section in their store.
It's kind of weird.
So Stu and Randy talk about Billy standing in the horror section and how that could be in poor taste if you're the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath.
Mm-hmm.
Randy suspects that Billy is the real killer, and he lays out some rules for horror movies for us. He thinks the dad is a red herring, and Stu's like, why would Billy want to kill his girlfriend? And Randy says, there's always some stupid bullshit reason to kill your girlfriend. Maybe Sydney wouldn't have sex with him.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu says, why, is she saving herself for you? And now we get that Randy might have a motive.
Yeah.
Because he says, maybe, now that Billy tried to butcher her, do you think I have a shot with Sid? And Stu loses it. He laughs at him. He's sticking his tongue out and pointing at him.
Yeah.
Kind of feel bad for Randy, but I can see where Stu's coming from.
Yeah.
She's dating the love child of Johnny Depp and Gavin Rossdale, and you think she's going to go for Jamie Kennedy?
No.
I noted that there's a Clerks poster in the background.
Oh.
That made me happy. So Stu thinks that Sid's dad is the killer. And in the middle of the video store, Randy just starts screaming that he's a red herring. He's going to come popping up in the third reel somewhere. Eyes gouged out, fingers cut off, teeth knocked out. And everybody looks at him. And he goes back to shelve some more videos and he's like, the dad's a red herring. It's Billy. And he turns right around and who's standing right there?
It's Billy.
So Billy grabs Randy by the shirt and says, maybe Randy's the killer. And Stu drapes himself over Randy's shoulders, kind of trapping him between him and Billy.
Yes. They're making a Randy sandwich.
Uh-huh. Something's not right with these boys.
No.
Randy acknowledges that he would be the prime suspect if this were a horror movie. And Stu asks what the motive would be. And Randy drops the line. It's the millennium. Motives are incidental. Billy likes this, and Stu's looking really, really creepy over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Billy kind of playfully taps Randy on the side of the face and says, good kid, before walking away. And he gives Stu kind of a knowing look before he walks away.
There's so many unspoken words between them.
Mm-hmm. So Randy looks at Stu and says, "You're telling me that's not a killer?" So now we see the town shutting down for curfew. Dewey, Tatum, and Sydney pull up in front of the cop shop in Dewey's Jeep. Jeeps suck. Nev says that it looks like the town that dreaded sundown. And Dewey goes, "I saw that movie. It's about a killer in Texas, huh?"
He talks so weird right there.
And Tatum asks, "Sid, if they make a movie about you, who would play you?" And Dewey says he sees her as a young Meg Ryan. But Sydney says, with my luck, they'd probably cast Tori Spelling, which was such a topical reference at the time, because everybody hated Tori Spelling.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't either.
I never had strong feelings about Tori Spelling, but everybody else sure did.
Maybe.
Nepo baby thing.
Yeah, maybe.
So Tatum and Sydney go to buy snacks for the party. Dewey seems to be getting ready to go to the police station, but he gets distracted by something.
Yeah.
So Tatum and Sydney are shopping and discussing how Billy and his penis do not deserve Nev Campbell.
Oh.
Truth.
Okay.
We see Ghostface reflected in the glass at the grocery store.
He's everywhere.
He is fucking walking around the grocery store in full regalia.
And nobody notices.
Hanging down arm dangles and everything.
Yeah.
Now we cut back to the police station where Dewey meets up with the sheriff. The sheriff is smoking a cigarette, and Dewey has a nice strawberry ice cream cone that he keeps licking at every time the sheriff takes a drag off his smoke.
Yeah.
And the sheriff at first is like, weren't you supposed to be with Sydney? And he's like, oh, she's with my sister, and I had to go get ice cream.
I wanted ice cream.
So the sheriff says that the calls to Sydney and Casey were listed to Neil Prescott, Sydney's father.
Oh, no. Not looking good for him.
They still can't find him, but he doesn't want Sid in protective custody yet. That's bad copying.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell Sid that the killer could be her father, and they're not going to put her in protective custody.
I could understand not telling her that they came from her dad's phone, but put her somewhere safe.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you want to start?
Yes.
Okay,
so full disclosure here. We were going to break this up into 2 episodes. So we took a little pause in recording because we talked for an hour and 45 minutes and we didn't even get to scene 118.
No.
So
if we sound different, it's because it's a different day.
Yeah, it's 2 days later now. We just filled ourselves up with some chili cheese dogs.
The world is a whole new place.
It is. And we have new chairs.
Yes.
So now we're going to dive into the exciting conclusion to Scream.
Ooh.
So now we see that it's nighttime, and Dewey is driving down a narrow and secluded road in his Jeep. A ways behind him, Gail's news van stops, and a bag of chips gets discarded on the road from the driver's window.
Don't do that. I hate
No.
people that litter.
And I actually wrote here, Kenny the cameraman is littering, so now he deserves to die.
Yes.
Dewey pulls up to the party, and we can see in the background there's like a super preppily dressed kid. He has like khakis and a blue button-down shirt, and it's all tucked in. And he has one of those like braided leather belts.
Ooh.
And he's carrying like a 12-pack of beer under his arm, and he keeps like looking over at the Jeep like,
Am I going to get busted? I put that there's music pumping from the house.
Oh, yes.
It was banging.
So Dewey drops Tatum and Sydney off and tells them not to have too much fun or he'll bust them.
Yeah.
And then he lets Sydney out of his sight, which he just told the chief of police that he would not do.
I think he felt like it was safe, though, because he was dropping her off at Stu's house, and he was going to stay outside. So, like, he was giving her a little bit of distance, but not too much.
I guess. I just feel like Dewey's not good at this whole cop thing.
Yeah.
So Tatum and Sydney go into the party, and Stu's house owns.
Yeah.
I love that house. Everybody's drinking and dancing, and somebody's doing a beer bong in the kitchen.
Stu's wearing a...
It's a classy smoking jacket.
But it's almost like a kimono, too. It's not quite a smoking jacket.
I don't know, but it's classy.
I put he's wearing a red kimono / Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. Because it's not, like, structured like a smoking jacket is.
Not really, no.
It's I don't know what it is.
It doesn't have the nice big lapels on it.
No.
It's like a modern smoking jacket.
Yeah.
So Gail and Kenny pull up outside, and we get a fake scare from Dewey as he approaches Gail. And he tells her she doesn't need to be here because there's no story, just a bunch of kids cutting it loose. And she asks why he's there, and he suddenly remembers he's supposed to be a cop, and he goes, I'm going to check the party out.
He's just keeping an eye on things.
So Gail invites herself to come along, and then Kenny very obviously hands her a remote camera.
Mm-hmm.
And she rolls her eyes at him like, dude, don't very obviously hand me this camera.
Yeah.
So she hides it under her coat, and they go inside. Inside, we see Randy's trying to get votes on what horror flick to watch, and Stu and Tatum are sharing a toothpick in make-out fashion.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it appears that they're each chomping on a part of the toothpick together.
What?
It's like a Lady and the Tramp thing, but with a toothpick.
Ew, that's gross.
So Sydney notices that Jamie Lee Curtis is in several of the titles that Randy has selected, and he explains to her that it's because she's the Scream Queen.
Because she is.
Yes. Randy gets close to her and seems to be using the horror movies as an excuse to kind of work his way into Sydney's good graces. Mm-hmm. Stu asks Tatum to go out to the garage and get more beer from the fridge, and then he rushes off somewhere. So
he jumps up to answer the door. Because that's when Dewey and Gail come in, and then he freaks out because he's like, you guys aren't going to believe who's here.
Yeah, so Dewey and Gail come in. Everybody starts fawning over Gail. Dewey tries to be a cop and fails.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be the bad guy breaking up the fun.
He's not that far from being where they're at.
Yeah.
Because I guess he said he's 25, but...
He was 24 for a whole year.
Yeah.
So Tatum's pissed and tells Dewey to get out and take your media muff with you.
Mm-hmm.
So Sydney takes Dewey aside and asks him if they found her dad yet. You had the entire ride to the party to talk to him about this?
Yeah.
Like, why?
It just got on your mind now?
Yeah. So Gail very chalantly...
Discreetly...
but
not
discreetly at all. See, I was thinking if you're being nonchalant, it's the exact opposite of what she's doing. Oh. So was she being chalant?
Chalant? I don't know. It's like being overwhelmed. Can you just be whelmed?
I think you can in Europe.
Oh.
Yeah, so Gail places the remote camera on the TV stand next to the VCR, and on top of the TV is a Cheech and Chong movie and an old checkbox, and I bet there's weed in that checkbox. Because why else would there be a checkbox next to a Cheech and Chong movie on top of a TV? Sydney asked Dewey if she should be worried that her dad's MIA, and he's like, nah, not yet.
Yeah.
I kind of think he might be the killer,
Even
but
though
not yet.
He's definitely a suspect, like our prime suspect.
So Tatum goes to the garage.
No, Tatum and her nipples go to the garage.
Well, see, I was going to say her nipples follow her into the garage like 3 minutes later.
No, because they lead. They don't follow.
Oh, yeah, she follows her nipples into the garage like 3 minutes later.
Yeah. And Tatum's outfit here is the outfit my emoji is wearing in our logo.
It is. Because you're Tatum.
Not really.
No.
I just think it was a cute outfit.
It is a very cute outfit.
I would never wear it in real life.
It's like quintessential mid-90s.
Yeah.
Let's see, where were we? Nipples. Oh, she opens the garage door to turn the light on, and then she loads up her arms with beers, and the door to the house from the garage closes. So we get another fake scare as a cat knocks over some garage stuff and then runs out of the doggy door that's cut into the garage door. Okay, have you ever seen this? Is this a thing?
What, that people have like a doggy door in their garage?
Like it cut into the garage door?
No. I don't really know anybody besides my parents recently that had a doggy door.
I knew a couple people with a doggy door, but it was always like on the kitchen door.
Yeah.
Like leading outside. Like
maybe they have a bunch of outdoor cats, and so that's just, they let them hang out in the garage. It's easy access.
Tatum tries to get back through the kitchen door, but it's locked. She knocks on the door, but nobody seems to hear her because there's some garbage pumping out over the speakers.
Did you notice that the garage fridge was full of eggs?
No.
There's like a lot of eggs in the garage fridge.
Maybe they have chickens. Because it's a quiet, peaceful farmhouse.
Oh, maybe.
Gail tells us that at the end.
Because I was like, who would put eggs out there? Like, that's not where you keep your eggs.
Maybe those are the eggs for selling.
Maybe they have chickens.
So right here, she's locked out of the house. Mm-hmm. All she had to do was pound on the door a little harder and scream, "I have beer."
Yeah.
That door would have flown open.
She would have been saved.
So she opens the garage door again to get out, and as she's approaching it, it starts to close again. She turns around and Ghostface is standing with his finger on the garage door button, and she thinks it's Randy. And
Poor Randy. Everybody always thinks it's Randy.
Like, oh, look, Randy's the creeper. The camera tilts again, and the score starts getting a little ominous. And she says, "Oh, what movie is this from? I spit on your garage." And Ghostface says nothing. And she says, "Oh, you want to play Psycho Killer?" And he nods, and she acts out, "No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel."
She's not gonna be.
And this is actually the first time he's called Ghostface.
Oh.
So she tries to push past him, but he pulls a knife and slits her arm.
I've always really liked the camera angle. Like when she's doing her little like scene.
Oh, yeah.
How it's like they shot her from above and they shot Ghostface from below. So it's like you get that power dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah. Look at you. Noticing all the film stuff.
So smart.
You're doing it. So she runs, Ghostface chases, she slams him in the face with the freezer door, and then she tries to go back for the garage door button, but right here I noticed her skirt makes it look like there's a swirling vortex into her butthole.
Maybe there is.
I don't know.
Maybe that's where heaven is.
In Rose McGowan's bum bum?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So Ghostface pops back up and goes after her again. She tosses some beers at him, and she hits him in the junk and then the face. Then she tries to get out the doggy door. She gets wedged, and Ghostface raises the door, crushing her head.
Mm-hmm.
The opener shorts out, and Ghostface walks back into the house. How did he get it unlocked? He's using Ghostface magic.
Yeah, he has special powers. So back inside, everyone is leaving because of curfew. Sid can't find Tatum anywhere. And then Billy slides out in front of the front door and startles Sid and Stu. He kind of like, he's really creepy. Like he does like a weird sidestep. Like,
and you can tell by his face, he's like, "I am meaning to scare you right now."
Yes. Stu jokingly asks what he's doing there, and Billy says he was hoping to talk to Sid alone. Stu says that they can go up to his parents' room to talk or whatever. Randy's upset that Billy is there, and now he's sad because his shot with Sid is ruined.
I did like that Billy looked at Stu after he was like, "You guys can talk and whatever." He's like, "It's subtlety, Stu. Look it up." And then he walks by him and sack taps him.
That's things friends do to each other.
Yeah. And
it's real.
It made the characters feel more real to me.
So back at the van, Kenny the cameraman is watching the live feed from inside the living room from the camera that Gail left there. There's a delay of, I don't know, what do they say, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Gail goes on to say that she's going to win a Pulitzer from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's going to win a Pulitzer.
I don't think so. But she praises herself a lot. Yeah. And, she's manifesting. She's
manifesting that. Up in the bedroom, Sid and Billy are up there. They're hanging out, sitting on the edge of the bed.
That bed seems way too small for a couple of rich people to sleep in. Like, when I think of rich people, I'm like, oh, they got the California king. Like, that's barely a queen.
Did you know the only difference between a king and a California king?
No.
It's not width, it's length.
Well, that's one thing I've always thought is weird about kings, because they're actually shorter than a queen.
Yeah.
They're wider, but shorter.
Yeah. So, like, I think a California king's, like, I want to say, like, 4 inches longer or something like that, but...
So it's probably, like, the length of a queen.
Probably.
And the width of a king.
Yeah. Just a side note of awesome information that I have.
I like your brain.
So in the bedroom, there's a little bit of a tension between them.
Well, she's accused him of being a killer,
yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, just get over your mom being dead."
Sid apologizes to him for her PTSD and says she can't keep lying to herself about her mom, but she's worried she's going to end up just like her.
And then Billy has to toss in here like a Silence of the Lambs reference for no reason.
Yeah, I think that he's just trying to hit as many horror movies as he can.
He's like, oh, it's just like that scene in Silence of the Lambs where Jodie Foster keeps seeing images of her dead father.
Yeah.
No, but it's nothing like that,
It's nothing
Billy.
like that, Billy.
He's lucky. He's cute.
Yeah. So he tells her that life is just one big movie, but you can't pick your genre.
That's a great line.
Yeah. So they start to make out.
I'd make out with him if he said that.
Eh.
I'd make out with him if he didn't say anything. He's a good-looking dude.
She says she wants to be in a Meg Ryan movie, or maybe even a good porno.
And then you can almost hear Billy's pants tighten.
So he kind of asks if she's sure, and then they decide that they're going to do the deed.
So now we cut to downstairs. The kids are watching some Halloween. Stu's macking on a girl who's not Tatum.
Yeah.
And Randy explains the horror movie rules to the morons. And those rules are, number 1, no sex. And everybody boos. Number 2, no drinking or drugs. Everybody boos.
These are not fun rules.
No. And number 3, never say, I'll be right back, because you won't be back. You'll be dead.
It's true.
And then Stu gets up to get another beer and he says, I'll be right back. And what's Randy say?
He's going to end up dead in the third act? No.
You break the rules, you end up dead. I'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.
Oh, okay. I don't have the entire movie memorized
Why not?
because my brain doesn't work that way.
So back in the news van, Kenny is playing with a Cheeto. And he's like making it swim in the air.
He's bored.
Gail's watching the kids watch Halloween. And Dewey comes and asks Gail to go for a walk for him. Or with him, not for him. Hey, go for a walk
Do you
for
want
me.
to take me for a walk?
He has a flashlight, and he's just so doofy and cute.
He's so sweet on her.
And then he asks her, do you know what that constellation is? And she's like, no, what is it? And he goes, oh, I don't know. That's why I asked you.
He's something else.
I just love him so
Yeah.
much. Some more kids are leaving the party now, and one of them asks about Tatum, and Stu says, she probably got pissed at me and bailed. And he doesn't seem worried at all.
No, he's not worried about her.
So we cut back to the bedroom, and Billy's going all out on top of Sydney, but she doesn't seem to be enjoying things.
Yeah.
And he's grabbing some boob through the shirt and wriggling and writhing on her.
That's called dry humping.
And then you can see that she forces herself to, like, get in the game.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, here we go. And now back downstairs, the crowd is watching Halloween, and Randy says it's time for the obligatory tit shot when PJ Souls is lowering her sheet to show Ghost Bob her boobs. Then we cut back to the bedroom where Nev is stripping off her shirt, and Billy is staring right at her bra, like full on.
Yeah, I like this shot or this scene too because like Randy's narrating what's happening to them.
So then the boys in the living room celebrate boobs. And we go back to Sydney and Billy. She's unhooking her bra and sliding it off. And then that asshole Billy steps right in the way of the camera. And we don't get to see boobs.
I don't think she was going to let you.
No. She was too pure at that time. I mean, party of 5. Back downstairs, the phone rings. And drunk Randy answers. And he's like real drunk now.
He's drunk.
He's feeling it.
Yeah.
And he finds out that Principal Hembry was gutted and hung from the goalpost on the football field. The 2 expelled boys from earlier are stoked, and they want to go see the body.
Yeah.
They drunkenly file out of the house, and Randy stays behind to watch the movie and drink more beer. See, Randy gets it. Don't go see the dead body, just watch Halloween.
I don't really want to see a dead body hanging from a goalpost.
Especially if it's been gutted.
Ugh.
That's nasty.
How did they even get it up there?
I don't know. And I was thinking, like, that had to happen during the day.
Yeah.
Because we know who the 2 killers are, and, like, they've been busy.
It's true. Maybe they have like a lift because think about how fast they got Casey up too.
Yeah? Maybe they're just strong boys.
They're just like driving around a forklift.
They have one of those scissor lifts like you see on the sidelines at football games. So the drunk kids jump into a Thunderbird and Mustang and take off. Gail and Dewey are walking down the road discussing their names and how no one takes them seriously. The drunk kids in the car are coming fast, and they have to Dewey and Gail have to dive out of the way of them, and Dewey lands on top of Gail, and she just kisses him. She's like, I'm coming in hot.
I'm going to shoot my shot.
And he shuts her down because he's on duty.
Sorry, I'm on duty.
And then he looks to the side, and he sees Neil Prescott's station wagon.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, what's he doing here?
They gotta go back.
Yeah, so they have to go back.
Yeah.
Now, I have a problem here. Did you see that station wagon?
Yeah.
Have you seen Neil Prescott's house?
Oh, good point.
What the hell is he doing, like, driving, like, a K-car station wagon?
And, like, if we think, like, I'm going to assume he's a contractor, because that's what we kind of thought, but I'm not real sure. He'd probably drive a truck.
Yeah, like, a big, like, F-350 or, like, a Ram Super Duty or something.
Maybe that's because we're from Iowa.
Oh, yeah. We don't know the California stuff.
Yeah. So we cut back to Sid and Billy getting dressed after sex. This is probably the most disgusting part in the whole movie. Sid picks up the hairbrush that's on the nightstand and starts brushing her hair with it.
You just fooked in somebody else's bed.
Mm-hmm.
You got your love juices on their sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're brushing your hair with their brush.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's marking her territory. She's moving in. She wants to be Stu's new mom.
I wouldn't share a hairbrush with you.
No, it's nasty.
Like, a hairbrush is like your toothbrush. It's like a personal item.
Yes.
It's just gross.
That's like when I hear about, they always tell people, like, oh, don't share your mascara because you never know if somebody has conjunctivitis. I'm like, why the fuck would you share mascara anyway?
I would never share mascara with somebody.
That's so gross.
If I, like, really love somebody, like you, like, I'll let you use my chapstick.
Yeah, but I feel weird about it.
But even that, I'm
ew.
like, ugh. It's got, like, my dead skin cells all over it.
I will fully on chew a stranger's gum that they've already had in their mouth.
But I'm not using their hairbrush.
No.
So off on that tangent. So when she sets the hairbrush down, she sees the phone, and then she asks Billy who his call was, because he had his one call at the police station.
Pizza Hut.
He says that he called his dad, but Sydney replies that no, Sheriff Burke called him. Billy argues that when he called him, his dad didn't answer, but she kind of seems uncertain about him at this point.
And then he goes full creep.
Yeah.
He, like, approaches the bed and, like, leans forward and, like, what do I have to do to prove I'm not a killer?
Uh-huh.
Well, you're not doing a very good job right now.
Well, he kind of is, because in a moment, Ghostface is going to come in and stab him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he's going to prove his point, I guess.
That removes suspicion, I guess.
So Ghostface comes up from behind the door frame and stabs Billy several times, and Billy falls to the floor. Ghostface does the badass cleaning of the knife.
I love it.
It's so good. Sid is, like, freaked out at this point, so she jumps over the bed, runs out the door. She's running through the house.
And it seems like the killer knows the house very well.
They definitely know the layout of it.
Like, she runs out of a bedroom door and, like, goes to a hallway, and he pops out of another door.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like he knows shortcuts.
Yeah, he's like, oh, look, I know this place.
Yeah. So she kind of traps herself in, like, an attic storeroom.
Yeah,
I'm not really
she, like,
sure what it is.
Puts a surfboard in front of the door.
Yeah. Outside, she can see the news van and Dewey's car, so she opens the window to climb out onto the roof and starts screaming for help. Nobody hears her. Ghostface shows up in the window, and they kind of wrestle for a bit before Sid falls off the roof. Luckily, there's a boat underneath that she lands on, and then she looks back up towards the house and discovers Tatum's body in the garage door.
And Tatum doesn't look happy.
No.
Sydney doesn't look happy.
No.
And I feel bad for her here because she, like, puts her hands up to her head.
Uh-huh.
And doesn't she scream Dewey?
I don't...
Or is that later?
I think that's later.
Okay.
But it's like, you've got the, I need to get out of here because this person is going to kill me, but there's my best friend dead and I don't have time to grieve her.
Yes.
That's rough.
Yeah. It's not a lot of fun.
No.
So now we cut back to Randy. He's watching the final chase scene in Halloween, and he keeps telling Jamie Lee Curtis to watch out because the Shape is around. And Ghostface comes into the room behind him, and he just keeps saying, no, behind you. Jamie, look behind you. And it's so funny because the killer's behind him, and his real name is Jamie.
Mm-hmm. When I was reading, like, the production facts, like, everybody acted like that was, like, a secret thing. And I'm like, if you didn't fucking know that was Jamie Kennedy and that this is, like, a laughable moment,
yeah.
If it took you 20 years to figure this out.
No, I remember in the theater being like, oh, that's so clever.
Yeah, it's very meta.
So Ghostface raises the knife, and you're like, oh no, he's going to kill Randy. But then he hears Sydney outside yelling for help, and he's like, oh wait, that's the target.
I better take care of that first.
So Sydney busts through a fence, and she goes running towards the news van, and she wakes up as sleeping Kenny the cameraman and asks for help. And now they're watching Jamie talking to Jamie scene from inside. And Kenny's like, uh-oh, I have a 30-second delay. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to run towards the house, and I'm going to save that boy.
Yeah.
And then that's when he remembers the delay. So he turns around and looks at the screen like, oh
no.
boy. Because he sees the front door to the house is wide open.
It's wide open.
So he turns back to the screen, starts watching where Ghostface went. And he turns back to the house just in time for Ghostface to slash his throat. And it's a good throat slash.
Yeah.
Sydney closes the van door and gets stabbed in the shoulder for her troubles. Ghostface struggles to unlock the side door to the van by reaching his hand in through the open passenger side window. He's resourceful.
He is.
While he's bumbling around with this, Sydney escapes through the back of the van, and Ghostface tries to follow, but he's too wide. He doesn't fit.
Nope. That's a small hole.
And he slams his knife hand down in frustration, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because you never see killers in movies like get frustrated, and you're like, oh, this is just a person in a costume.
Yeah.
They're frazzled. Things aren't working out. So Sydney bolts across an open field while Gail and Dewey come back to the house. Dewey tells Gail to call for help and lock herself in the van, and then he draws his gun and goes into the house, and he's horribly waving his gun around.
He's not clearing that house very well.
No, like he's really waving it.
But I will say, like, Halloween is blasting.
Yes.
Like, so loud in there right now. I don't know why the volume's all the way up all of a sudden, but like, and there's nobody around, so it's kind of creepy.
Yeah. I'd be a little unnerved.
And I don't imagine that Dewey has a lot of experience.
No, it seems like a pretty sleepy town, except
Yeah.
for people getting murdered every year.
So I'm guessing he doesn't have to draw his gun very often.
Yeah. So then he's calling out for Neil, because he's like, Neil is the killer. I know this now. And he's relieved to find out that all the screaming was just from the TV.
Back at the van, Gail's yelling for Kenny, but she can't find him anywhere. She sees that there's blood dripping from the top of the van. She calls 911, and then all of a sudden Randy pops up in the window, and she hits him with the phone.
And it's one of those big, like, Zach Morris brick phones.
Yeah.
You can do some damage with that thing.
He probably has a concussion. So Gail turns the van on, and she's going to drive away, but there is blood covering the windshield. So she uses the wipers to clear it.
I don't know why, but this scene is always so eerie to me.
It's terrible.
Like, as soon as the windshield wipers come up and swipe the blood away, I'm just like, it's like an internal shudder.
Yes, the blood on the window doesn't bother me. It's when she uses the windshield wipers and you see it like,
yeah, it's so,
I don't know.
I think it's partially because, like, you can tell how thick it is.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that didn't move away like rain.
So she puts the van in reverse, and Kenny falls off the roof, and now he's blocking her view. And she says, Kenny, I'm sorry, but get off my fucking windshield. So Gail's driving super erratically. I don't know why she's driving so crazy.
I don't either. Like, she's Indy 500 out here.
Yes, but she sees Sid in the middle of the road, and Sid's looking a little rough.
Yeah, she's bloody.
Yeah. So she swerves to avoid her and goes flying into a field before crashing into a tree. Now, Sid is back at the front of the house, and she's yelling for Dewey. He shows up at the front door. He appears to be fine, but Ghostface has stabbed him in the back. And then he collapses. So Sid runs to Dewey's Jeep, locks all the doors, just as Ghostface gets there. She goes to start the Jeep, but there's no keys. Ghostface reveals that he has the keys.
And I love his move here. Like, he taps on the window with the knife.
And then is like...
And then he just, like, jingles the keys at her like, oh, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Like, you're fucked.
Like, it's so... He's just, like, playing cat and mouse games.
Yes. The Jeep CB crackles, and Sid uses it to ask for help. And she just somehow knows Stu's address.
Well, you didn't think it was weird that everybody in Halloween just knew the phone numbers to everybody in the world. Addresses are shorter than phone numbers. I know his address. It's 236 Turner Lane.
Oh, okay. So as she's talking to the dispatch, from behind we see that the Jeep's hatch starts to open, but she doesn't see it. Ghostface attacks her from behind, and she fights him off and makes a run for the house. She turns around, and Ghostface has disappeared again.
Oh, I just wanted to say, though, I love the toying with her scene where she locks one door.
Oh, and then he's, like, popping up.
And, like, the other door unlocks, and she goes and, like, slams that lock back down.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, like, with the cat and mouse thing, like...
He's just playing with her.
Don't play with your food, just eat.
As she's looking around, Randy appears and tells Sid that they need to get out of there. Stu shows up at the same time, and they're both arguing that it was the other one that has murdered everybody.
Yes. And do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
You're like, I don't know who to trust.
Yeah,
like,
you're looking back and forth between them, and you're like, oh no, which one killed everybody?
Yeah.
Because you're like, Billy's dead, Dewey's stabbed, Gail's gone, Kenny's gone.
It's one of these two.
Yeah. And you're just like, but Stu, he's all like, he killed my Tatum, he killed my baby. Like.
Yeah. So she does the right thing. She grabs Dewey's gun, shuts the door, and says, fuck you both.
Because she is not a normal Survivor girl.
No.
She is a new 90s Survivor girl.
Survivor girl that can fight.
Yes. She decides she doesn't trust them, slams the door on him. So she's in the house. She's not looking happy with the whole situation. Then Billy pops up at the top of the stairs, and his shirt's covered in blood, but it doesn't seem to have pooled at all.
No.
He just still has the same stripes of blood that he did before. And he just falls down the stairs. He just, like, collapses and falls down the stairs all dramatically.
He's a good actor.
And then he pops up at the bottom, and he's like, oh, I'm bleeding like a stuck pig here. There's no new blood on his shirt, Sydney.
Yeah.
There's none.
There's no blood coming out.
He only bled for, like, the exact moment that he was stabbed.
Yeah. But she's in shock.
So Billy convinces Sid to give him the gun. And he opens the door. Randy bolts inside. And Randy says, Stu's flipped out. He's gone mad. And Billy turns slowly and gets this far off, very scary look on his face. And he says, we all go a little mad sometimes. And he shoots Randy. And Randy goes flying into the nice flower display table that was in the foyer.
Why does he fly so far?
I don't know. Usually that's a shotgun trope, but apparently that, like, 9mm 45 caliber packs a punch.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out the ugly rich people rugs here. I bet those rugs are really expensive and they're atrocious and none of them match.
Yeah, rugs are expensive.
They have like 4 different rugs and a runner and none of them match. And it just looks like shit. And when we look at, like, houses on Zillow, like, look at a mansion on Zillow that's like $2 million and you're like, these people can't decorate for shit.
Rich people have no taste, just money.
Yes. You know what? I'll keep my no money and my taste.
I was going to say, you know why? Because they can just buy anything they want, so they don't know what they want.
That's true. So Billy tells Sydney that he just quoted Anthony Perkins from Psycho while he scratches his scalp with the gun he just fired. I think that'd be hot, wouldn't it?
I don't know. You know more about guns than I do.
So then he reveals that he's covered in corn syrup, the same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie.
See, he's just trying to snap off.
Yeah. He's just like, I watch movies.
I watch scary movies. I know the rules. Randy's not the only one.
So Sydney goes to run out of the room and she bumps into Stu, who also has a crazy far-off look in his eyes. She asks for his help, but he pulls out the little voice changer box and he says, "Surprise, Sydney."
And it just sends chills. Like,
especially how his face changes when he says it. Because he's looking like half zombified.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Surprise, Sydney," and you just see his eyes light up, and he's like, oh, this is so much fun what we're doing.
We're having fun. So they're all in the kitchen now. Billy asks Sid to guess how she's going to die, and she replies, "Fuck you." And Billy says, "Oh no, we already played that game. You lost."
I refuse to believe that she lost that game.
Sid tells them that they're crazy, but they prefer the term psychotic. Sid tells them that they'll never get away with it, and Billy says, "We'll tell that to Cotton Weary."
You wouldn't believe how easy he was to frame.
Watch some movies, take some notes. It was fun.
Yeah, so they just kind of dropped a bomb on her.
Mm-hmm. So Sid asks why they killed her mother. Billy says it's a lot scarier when there's no motive.
Did Norman Bates have a motive?
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever find out why Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people?
See,
don't think so.
No, now he's just naming movies he's already named.
Yeah.
So you've only watched 5 movies, Billy.
Probably.
Billy says that they did her mother a favor. She was a slutbag whore who flashed her shit all over town like she was Sharon Stone.
And then Stu cuts in with, we did that woman a favor. Because, let's face it, Sydney, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
We've reached the point where it's all quotes.
I love Matthew Lillard so much.
Billy reveals that Sid's mom was fucking his dad and is the reason that his mom left. He says that maternal abandonment causes serious deviant behavior. Certainly fucked you up and made you have sex with a psychopath. Stu makes some funny comments about her not being a virgin anymore.
And I like how he does the cliche Japanese anime girl laugh, where he puts his hand over his mouth and goes, when he says virgin.
I fucking love Stu.
I do too.
Like, I don't care that he killed people. I fucking love Stu.
I know. I want to party with Stu.
I know, and they keep talking about that maybe Stu's going to come back, and I'm like, just fucking bring him back.
Yes.
Just like, even if it's just like for a small cameo.
Or like, he could just walk by in the background and look right down the lens of the camera, and you're like, oh my god, that's Stu.
Yeah. So now they tell Sid that she has to die, because those are the rules. Stu's getting a little manic at this point.
Very much so.
He's waving the gun all around. And then he tells Sid that they have a surprise for her. He says, it's a scream, baby. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
And then Billy hits her with, it's after midnight. Congratulations. We killed your mom 1 year ago today. Stu brings Sydney's dad out of the closet, and he's bound. His mouth is taped up. And he is looking at Sydney like, your friends suck. I do not approve of your boyfriend. So Stu puts the voice changer in the cell phone in Neil's jacket pocket, and he tells Sydney that they cloned his cell number to make the calls. And all the evidence is right here. What about fingerprints? Because he's just touching on all that stuff and putting it in Neil's pocket.
They didn't worry about fingerprints.
Like,
did you see the sheriff and Dewey handling that mask?
Well, that's true. They're also going to wonder, like, why is there red corn syrup on this?
Yeah.
So Billy says the ending that they had planned is for Neil to have snapped. The anniversary of his wife's death set him off, and he went on a rampage, killing everybody except for he and Stu. They were left for dead. Then he kills Sydney and kills himself. Perfect ending. Now Billy stabs Stu, while Stu screams, "Get it up, man!" And then it's Stu's turn to stab Billy, and Billy reminds him, stay to the side and don't go too deep. We still talking about knife stabs here? Because the way they've been looking at each other, I'm kind of thinking there might be extracurriculars.
I don't like that Billy grabs Sid before he gets stabbed.
I think to keep her from running.
Oh, I guess so.
Like, I'm going to be busy for a second.
But it's just
here.
like, he's like grabs her and is like staring at her while like Stu stabs him. And I'm like, is he getting off on this? Like,
yeah, maybe. Billy's pissed because Stu jabbed him a good one.
Mm-hmm.
He said, don't go too deep. And I'm pretty sure Stu buried that thing to the hilt.
Well, I'm pretty sure Billy stabbed Stu pretty well to begin with. So I think Stu was a little mad.
Yeah.
And went a little deeper on Billy.
And then we cut to Sydney's dad, who was looking at her like, seriously? Like, who are these people you spend your time with? So Stu tells Sydney that he and Billy get to stay alive and plan the sequel. Because these days, you gotta have a sequel.
And Matthew Lillard has the longest fingers in the world.
He does, and the biggest ramen noodle in his head. So Billy just starts violently cutting on Stu.
Yeah.
Like, we just hear, probably 6 or 7 slashing noises?
I don't think that was the plan.
And Sydney's staring in horror, and she calls him sick fucks, and tells him they've seen too many movies. And Billy yells at her, "No, don't you do that. Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative." And he punctuates his point by stabbing his friend again.
Yes. And then Stu asks him to stop because he's getting woozy.
Yeah. And I feel so bad for him there. He's like, "When you knock it off, man, I'm getting a little woozy here."
Billy tells Stu to get the gun, but it's disappeared. Where did the gun go?
And there's a lot of blood dripping off of Stu.
Yeah.
It's like you can hear it spattering on the floor.
Stu's looking rough. So Gail comes from around the corner holding the gun. Billy scolds Stu for not making sure that she was dead. And Stu says, she looked dead. Still does.
She's a little worse for the wear.
Gail gives them an alternate ending of her saving the day. Sid says she likes that ending. And Gail tries to shoot Billy, but the safety's on. So he kicks her, and she collapses next to Dewey. And then Billy picks up the gun and does the scary neck crack.
Yeah, and if you have the subtitles on, it says neck muscles crack. Like, well, now I'm kind of worried about his health.
His neck muscles are cracking. It's just, I don't know. It's unnerving.
He's really good at playing a psycho.
He's very, very good. So Billy's getting ready to shoot Gail, but Stu notices that Sydney's gone.
Oh, and I like when he points the gun at her and this is Gail Weathers signing off.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cheesy.
I know. It's so very Freddy.
Oh, so Bill and Stewie go, no.
Stewie?
I said Bill and Stewie. This is how my brain works sometimes. Billy and Stu go back to the kitchen, but Sid and her dad are both gone. And then the phone rings. So what does Billy do? He answers it. I don't know that I would have answered it.
And Stu's coughing up blood now.
He's not doing so well. Sid's on the other end of the phone with a voice changer, and she tells them that she just called the police and reported their sorry asses.
Oh, and I like that right before Billy answers the phone, Stu goes, should I let the machine get it?
He just kills me.
And I have to wonder how much of that was improv.
I'm guessing a lot of it was. Billy tells Stu to get up and go to try to find Sid, but Stu says he doesn't think he can because he thinks he's dying and that Billy cut him too deep. So Billy tells him to talk to Sid while he goes and looks for her.
And he's almost like fatherly with him here.
Yeah.
Like he hands him the phone. He's like, talk to her.
Yeah.
And he kind of like pats him on the shoulder like, I'm sorry I hurt you.
Yeah. But keep her occupied while I go look.
Yeah.
Stu tells Sid that his motivation is peer pressure. At this point, Billy rips the phone away from him to yell at Sid that he's going to rip her up just like her mother. But Sid says that he has to find her first. And then Billy just chucks the phone at Stu.
And Stu replies, you fucking hit me with the phone, dick!
I did read that was not meant to happen.
Yeah.
They were so covered in blood that it just like flew out. And I'm glad they left it in because it's priceless. At this point, Billy's pissed. He wants to find Sid, so he just starts running through the house, breaking and stabbing things.
Yeah.
He knocks over a lamp. He picks up like a throw pillow and is slashing it.
He stabs the couch cushions a couple of times.
It's like, I just need to stab.
I get Billy because that's how I feel when I get home from work. Like, I just want to run through the house and break things.
Just rampage.
But, I'm not rich like Stu's parents, so I can't afford nice rugs to cut up.
Nope. Stu's still on the phone with Sid, and he asks her if she really called the police. And she tells them that I did.
And he hits her with, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
So cute. Billy's walking through the hallway and hears a noise coming from the closet. So he investigates. And then Sid pops out, dressed as Ghostface, and she stabs him with an umbrella.
Yeah. That's painful.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, she left that kitchen where we know there were knives, and she didn't take a knife with her, but she took the costume?
Well, was the costume in there? They might have still had the costume in the closet with her dad.
Oh, that might be.
They probably left it in there.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
That's why I'm smarter than you.
I was just thinking she, like, ran by and she's like, oh, the costume's on the floor. I'll just pick that up real quick.
And then maybe she did, like, I guess she didn't have a knife because we don't see it, but I would rather go with the umbrella because
you got some distance.
It's distance.
Yeah.
So Stu runs in and starts to wrestle with Sydney. He tackles her over the couch and he gets on top of her and he holds her down and he says, I've always had a thing for you, Sid. So she bites his hand.
And then slams a vase on his head. A vase.
A vase. She breaks a vase over his head and he's still on the floor. And then she drops a TV on his head.
And it's not a TV like we have now.
No.
It's a big TV.
It's a big TV now probably wouldn't. I mean, it could hurt you, but...
You'd be like, ow, my nose hurts.
Yeah, but that TV probably weighs 70 pounds.
Oh, at least. You remember hauling that TV from your parents' house down the front steps? Oh, God.
So that's the end of Stu, which is sad.
Now Sydney goes back to the foyer and she picks up the mask and she just kind of looks at it.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy jumps up and scares the shit out of her. And she's like, oh, I thought you were dead. And he says, I probably should be. I never thought I'd be so happy to be a virgin. And then Randy is punched in the face from off screen. And Billy's back in the picture. So Billy throws Sydney to the ground. He has a knife and he starts choking her. And he says, say hello to your mother. Before she sticks a finger in his umbrella wound. I can feel both sides of that.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I think hers is worse than his.
I don't know. It's so nasty.
I don't want to stick my finger in somebody's squishy.
No. That's funny.
It is funny.
That sounds like a sexy time thing.
It is, but it's not, because it's a stab wound.
So he straightens up and screams in pain, but he still raises the knife and he's going for the kill shot. But Gail is back. She has the gun. She shoots Billy and he falls off of Sydney and he coughs and chokes and kind of backs along the floor.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of coughing up blood.
And he appears to die. So Gail, Randy, and Sydney are standing in front of the door. And Gail says, guess I remembered the safety that time, you bastard. And they all walk over to Billy together. Sydney kicks his leg to see if he's dead. And Randy warns her, careful, this is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one final scare. Man, if you could just kind of rearrange that and misquote it a little bit, it'd make an excellent end to a podcast.
It would, wouldn't it?
So Billy jumps up and literally says, "Rawr!"
Yeah.
And Sydney shoots him in the head. Mm-hmm. And she says, not in my movie.
Good job, Sid. So Sid's dad comes crashing out of the closet door, kind of giving them all a startle.
He's a scary man.
Yeah, he scared him. So Sid's kind of trying to aid him and get the tape off of his mouth. And then we kind of cut to the outside of the house. We see Dewey being wheeled into an ambulance just as the sun is coming up. Gail's, for some reason, reporting in front of the house. She's still all bloodied, and she has a new crew.
The network affiliate got there fast.
They must be. Must have.
Sorry,
I was reading, and then I was responding, and it didn't work out well. The house is surrounded by cop cars and ambulances. She refers to the house as a quiet farmhouse. Yeah. That's a big fucking house.
Yeah. And I don't see much farming.
No. Because it's almost on a cliff, isn't it?
It's
a bluff.
Definitely in the hills.
Yes. So at this point, we get a black screen, and then we get a scary flash of Ghostface.
He came back for one last scare.
Yeah. And that's the end of the movie.
And the credits roll with Whisper to a Scream playing.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that song.
Oh, I like it.
Eh.
So for a body count, we have 7. Stephen Orth, eviscerated. Casey Becker, stabbed, hanged, eviscerated.
You have to leave that in.
Okay. Principal Hembry, stabbed, later gutted and hanged from the goalpost on the football field. Tatum, head smashed in the doggy door on the garage. Kenny, throat slashed. Stu Macher, head smashed by large television.
I put death by stereo.
Or TV.
Actually, TV.
Billy Loomis, stabbed multiple times and shot in the head. So, Mandy, what are your reactions to Scream?
I thought it was a horrible movie and I never want to watch it again.
It's so bad. I hate it.
Actually, after watching this with a critical eye, I'm changing it to my favorite scary movie.
Yeah.
It's just good, plain and simple. I love that it pokes fun at itself. Everything at this time was so innovative and shocking. And it, much like Halloween, sparked an interest in slasher movies again. There was a huge run of scary movies in the mid-90s. They weren't all slashers, but it was okay. It kind of showed that it was okay for stars, especially teen stars, to be in scary movies.
Well, and I feel like it kind of brought back that thing okay, you're on a TV show, but you want to break into the movie business.
Yeah.
Just do this one big budget horror movie and you're there.
So we got movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Disturbing Behavior, The Faculty, Urban Legend. Yeah.
It was a fun time.
It was a very fun time.
And then you had all the straight-to-video ones that killed it all.
Yeah.
I said, after watching this with a critical eye, I realized this movie does have some issues. There are a few shots that aren't in focus. Like, there are a few shots I'm like, oh, your director of photography needed a little work on that one.
Yeah.
But he was actually fired halfway through scene 118.
Oh, okay.
So.
We know why.
And some of the secondary actors aren't great, like the kids that get expelled from school.
None of the secondary actors are great.
And the
girls in the bathroom.
She has her own little bubble butt boyfriend, Billy. But the pacing, the main actors, the story, suspense, the action, the gore are all absolutely perfect. It's about 20 minutes longer than most slashers, and I don't think anybody could ever be bored with it.
No.
Because they just keep you going.
And I don't know where you could cut anything out to make it a 90-minute.
Yeah, because it's a mystery movie. It's like a mystery thriller that just happens to have a lot of really brutal violence in it. The cast was great. There was awesome chemistry. And you actually believe that they're friends.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a real friend group.
Yes. Like you said with like that little nut tap. Like, that's what friends do to each other. Like, you can't write that into a movie necessarily.
And I wrote, to end my reactions, it's smart and timely, but also timeless.
This is NPR.
It's timely, but timeless.
All right. So, some production facts.
Hit me with them.
The use of caller ID increased more than threefold after the release of this film.
I could see why.
I get it. Do you want to go back and forth?
Let's do that. That's fun. Kevin Williamson had the inspiration to write the opening scene after watching a documentary about the Gainesville Ripper. He was so creeped out by the documentary that he called a friend, and they ended up talking about their favorite horror movies and killers.
Oh.
And then he was like, I'm going to write this.
Yeah. That worked out well for him. None of the crew met Roger Jackson, the guy that plays the voice. So when they're on the phone with the killer, they're actually talking to Roger. And Wes Craven did this because he thought it would bring out more of a shocked reaction from the cast when they heard the voice.
Jet, leave the kitty alone. He really wants to play with a kitty. And Roger Jackson's voice.
Ugh.
Like, can you imagine being an actor and not meeting him?
Yeah.
And then you're just talking to him? Like, that would make it seem real. The script was written in only 3 days. And in that 3 days, Kevin Williamson also wrote 2 5-page outlines for the sequels.
What?
Yeah. He was house sitting for someone.
Was he on cocaine?
I mean, it was the early 90s in Hollywood, so chances are.
Yeah. There was around 50 gallons of fake blood used during the movie.
That's a lot of blood.
That's a lot of blood.
Yeah. The original title for the movie was Scary Movie.
Yeah. I'm glad they changed it.
Yeah. Because now Scary Movie is Scary Movie.
Even without that. Like, Scary Movie's just, it's lame. I liked this. So Drew Barrymore insisted on shooting her, like, all of her scenes barefoot because she was in the movie for such a short time. And she just doesn't like wearing shoes.
She was such a hippie back then. I have a Drew Barrymore fact.
You do?
She was initially cast as Sydney. Reese Witherspoon, Molly Ringwald, and Brittany Murphy were all also considered it as well. And then at the last moment, she was like, you know what? I don't want to play Sydney. I don't want to be in the movie for that long.
Yeah.
She's like, that's a long shooting schedule, and I don't want to do it. And she also didn't think she had the physicality for it.
Oh.
So they went with Neve Campbell.
So she was like, just kill me off in the first scene.
Yeah. And I guess Wes Craven was like, that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. I love it.
It worked out well.
But yeah, they went with Neve Campbell because they thought she could handle the physicality because she was a dancer.
Oh. That's all the facts I have. Do you have more facts?
Oh, I got a lot more.
Well, I didn't want to talk about it forever.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
The high school they were supposed to film in Santa Rosa refused to let them film there only 3 months before the shoot was supposed to start. due to public outcry over the effect of slasher movies on students.
Oh, no.
There's a nod in the credits to a pain-in-the-ass school district. It says, no thanks whatsoever to the Santa Rosa City School District Governing Board.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Burn.
Matthew Lillard improvised the lines, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me, and you fucking hit me with the phone, dick.
If you can't tell, I have a crush on Matthew Lillard.
I do too. When Sydney sticks Billy with the umbrella after popping out of the closet, his reaction was real because he had a pad on his chest that she was supposed to hit. She missed it and hit a scar from an open heart surgery that he had when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah. That probably hurt.
Yeah. The movie was originally rated NC-17 by the MPAA and went through 9 edits to get down to the R rating, which it only obtained after Bob Weinstein came in and told the MPAA, guys, it's a spoof. You're taking this too seriously. It's a comedy.
Are you serious?
And they were like, oh yeah, you're right. We'll give it the R. Yeah, they went through 9 edits.
Jeez.
And then the producer came in and was like, guys, come on, it's a spoof.
Can you imagine the original cut?
Oh. If this is the final...
Because this is a pretty gory movie for that time.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty gory even by today's standards.
Especially, with, the gutting and,
Yeah. Steven's guts rolling off of his lap onto the ground. Do you have any goofs?
I don't have any goofs. I'm not very good at goofs.
The only one I have is the douchebag at the party comments on the blood in a scene in Halloween being too red.
Oh.
And there's no blood in that scene.
There's no blood.
No.
I called him a douche canoe.
He is a douche canoe.
Because he was just talking over the entire movie.
Mandy, who are you?
Can I say who you are first?
Yes.
You're Randy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
100%.
Yeah. There's no arguing it.
Yeah. I'm a nerd, and I like horror movies.
Yeah, and you're kind of hyper.
A little bit.
I put that I was Sydney just to placate you.
Thank you. Do you want to know who I said you are?
Yeah.
You're Dewey.
Oh, because I'm kind of dopey.
You're trying to be a tough grown-up, but you're just too lovable and goofy.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah, you're my little Dewey.
I get that.
So, final thoughts and ratings?
I gave this a 10 out of 10.
Me too.
Woohoo! I said this movie is really just perfect. Kevin Williamson's writing is amazing, and then you add in Wes Craven's touch, and it's just awesome. There was a lot of unconventional camera angles. The score is good. Everything is good. And then I kind of brought up what you did earlier about some of the secondary characters. Their acting is
It's a little meh.
It needs a little something. But I felt like the core 5 of them were actually friends.
Mm-hmm. And it made it more fun to watch.
Yes.
Like I said, I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I said what Halloween originally did for slashers and what Night of the Living Dead did for horror as a whole, Scream did again. It revived a dead or completely on life support genre and inspired people to make smarter, more modern horror. The meta approach was original and really brought the winds of change. People were like, oh, the characters in the movie can recognize that they're in a horror movie situation.
Well, and you can have character development in a horror movie.
Yes. It doesn't just have to be, okay, show me your boobs, now go die. Despite its very few flaws, I think it's absolutely perfect, and I would not change a thing in this movie. Wes Craven, being the director, gave it cred right out of the gate, but Kevin Williamson deserves the award here.
Yeah.
Because that script...
It's funny because we pretty much both said the same thing, but we just wrote it in different sections.
Yeah.
Apparently we both like this movie.
A lot. And you know what? I've always said that The Exorcist is my second favorite horror movie.
Uh-huh.
I think I might have to go 2A and 2B with Scream in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a good one.
Well, in closing, we're going to ask you guys for something.
We are?
can you please, pretty please rate and review us on your favorite podcast listening platform?
Rate, review, subscribe.
Share.
Oh, share.
Yeah. Tell all your friends on social media about Franchise Frights Podcast.
Yeah. It helps us out.
And don't forget the contest.
Oh, yes.
Screenshot that you have shared us on your social media. DM it to us on any of the platforms we're on. And you will be entered for the drawing that we're going to do on Facebook live on December 3rd.
December 3rd at 5:30.
So get it done, people. Tune in next Thursday for Final Destination. And do you want to tell the people where they can find us on the socials?
So you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/franchisefrightspod, Instagram at franchisefrightspod, X at ffrightspod, and Snapchat at ffrightspod. And you can also find our website at www.franchisefrightspodcast.com.
Mandy made a website.
I did it.
And you did a bang-up job.
Thank you.
So I guess until next Thursday,
Remember, they always come back.